first 4 rounds of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series has taken us to 3 different continents and 4 very different, very interesting races. But the one thing that has stayed the same, it has been Coanda Simsports who has won the first 4 rounds of the championship, and no team apart from Coanda has won a round in this series in the last 18 months. But now we come to Monza, the fastest track on this schedule. It's the lowest downforce track, and it's a track that can always bring up a couple of surprises. As we welcome you to qualifying for round number 5 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series from Monza. Wilvington, along with Jake Sperry and Jonathan Saman, we have got Connery Maddock on social media. Drivers are on their outlap or their first lap as we speak, and we're going to take you right to the action then. As we've got cars on track, having a look at the moment at the Orion race team driver of Davide Core on a lap as we speak. We're going to get those times up on the left-hand side of your screen in just one moment's time. And there is the driver of Martin Kroenke, heading himself then past the start-finish line. 10 minutes remaining in the qualifying session, and Kroenke does a 1:22.421. Gregor Hutu is just coming onto track right now. Mac Backham, a quarter of a second almost behind Kroenke as we get the early laps in. On board with Peter Berryman, as it sounds as though he is on an outlap right now, Jake. But a lot of competition coming into this weekend in the month of May, and of course, a lot of drivers. This Fluke goes up to 1:22.320. I was going to say, this could well be a good Apex Racing UK track.
Remember, they got pole position last year from guess who? Number 69, the Berry man who can. He opens out then the Parabolica, looking to get maximum amount of power down on the exit, maximising that run to get the full amount of top speed to make the run to turn number 1. And Peter Berryman wants to go out there, make it 2 pole positions in a row. This is probably the apex track. This is the track which suits their high speed, their low downforce setups, and they really are able to manage and make a craft out of winning races like these and actually having some brilliant results like these.
First Esports, Josh Rogers up into P number 4 right now. Berryman was very good then for the first of the 3 chicanes at Monza. Into the second chicane, uses quite a bit of curb there, Johnny, bouncing over the anti-cut curves, but now into Lesmo number 1. This is when you really see if that car can turn, and for Berryman, yeah, it's okay right now.
It is, and these corners tighten up the more you travel through them. Touches a bit of the gravel around the outside, so he won't get the best run onto this back straight here. Now he's going to run on towards Ascari under the old banked oval that they used almost 50 years ago. That's in iRacing and able to be simulated, of course. The toughest corner on the track is Ascari, and then run wide here. You're allowed to do that, so you'll see drivers throughout the race today running as wide as they can. They won't receive any penalty. And then one final corner to go. Trail brake, send the front end through here, pick up the throttle as early as possible, and look at the exit wheel. No gravel on the outside, makes it a little bit easier to make a few errors. Yeah,
so Berryman 1:22.729, not good enough on the first run. That's only going to be P number 4 for Berryman. Antoine Hegelin on board. He's on an outlap right now, as we can see. Currently in P number 8. Let's turn our attention then over to Hutu. Hutu is on a lap right now, his first flying lap of the day. And we've got to ask the question, Jake, what does Hutu need to do and that Team Redline car to find a way back to the top of the standings?
Well, what they need to do is not get involved in incidents, and we've seen how many incidents this year Gregor Hutu has been involved in, and it's more than arguably his last 7-8 years combined. It's been that sort of level of Hutu gets involved every single race with a Coanda driver. He needs to get out of that. To get out of that, he needs to put some space between himself and some other drivers around him as he heads into Ascari. It's beautiful, left, right, left, always trying to apply that power down. Little bit of a wiggle on the exit. Couple takes then as he looks to get himself over the AstroTurf on the right hand side. Run to the Parabolica, and Hutu, I wouldn't say this is a great lap, Will, but this is a good banker.
Yeah, it is, as he's just going to work on themselves behind the trees there. We're going to see him then coming back as it's currently Fluke from Kroenke from Backham. Past the start-finish line. Not a great lap there by Hutu, but it'll put him, for the time being, in P number 4. Let's turn our attention over to the Radicals Online team right now. as you've got yourself Mitchell de Jong now up into 4th place as well. And well, Johnny, we talk on one hand about Apex Racing, this is being a good track for them. You can't always say the same about Radicals Online on these high-speed, low-drag circuits.
No, exactly, and it's a bit odd here because talking to Rob Cuss, their team boss, before the race, he was quite bullish about their chances. The team have put in a lot of hard work, but then at the same time, you have to realize that everybody's putting in hard work at the same time. So we see Anton Hegelin climb to 4th on the left-hand side of the screen. But most importantly as well, we haven't had a GT event of the World Championship here, and so a few of those drivers have had a bit of a rest. And I'm not surprised, though, with Jamie Fluke up at pole at the moment. Apex have something at this circuit, as Jake said. Pole here last year for Berryman. They found a rhythm to Monza, and they're carrying it here in 2018.
Yeah, they have indeed. Just having a look there at Kazuki Umeshima. Just having a look down through a little bit as well. Kroenke and Fluke are on pit road as we speak. We've got Backham, who is on track right now. Let's turn our attention over to Mac Backham right now in the number 16 VRS Commander Sim Sports car, exiting Lesmo number 2, Jake, heading towards Ascari.
Yeah, and Matt Backham wants to attack this. It's his final lap. He's got no other alternatives. He moves to the left-hand side on the run-up to Ascari. He wants to avoid this small bump, which has thrown so many a driver off in these low-sitting McLaren MP430s as Backham now hounds his way towards the Parabolica. He needs 0.004 of a second to leapfrog Kevin Ellis Jr., who's just moved up into position number 3, mind you. So Apex 1 and 3 and 5 as things stand, as you've got also Commander 2, 4, 6 and 7 as things stands as well. Backham's to the line, 122.560. Berryman goes to the pole, but Backham's only 4th.
Yeah, Berryman goes up as we almost expected him to. Now it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the like of Martin Kroenke. He is still sat on pit road. He is still waiting. We've got ourselves Gregor Hutu on a lap right now. This is a warm-up lap then for Gregor Hutu. He's just come out of pit road, so he'll have one more lap to go. Drivers who haven't yet qualified, by the way, Tommy Oscar, Ilka Hapala, Alexei Yusiakola, Diego Oliveira, Kazuki Yamashima, and Dion Vergers. Go, Johnny.
Hutu's lap right now, look at this. He's going slow. Remember this happened at Road America? Didn't work out for him. And his teammate, Alexei Yusiakola, is doing the same thing. Alexei's actually started his lap, so Alexei's in a hot one right now, heading towards, he's through the Curva Grande, but Hutu, let's see if this actually works out. It was a catastrophe through the first sector at Road America, just no temperature through the tires.
Yep, so then it's going to be Hutu. Going to be one of the first drivers we need to pay attention to coming past the line. Fluke is on track right now. Martin Kroenke is on track as well. Fluke held pole position for about 6 minutes or so in qualifications. As you can see, he's building up now. He's taking it a little bit easy, and you can see the differences and approaches there as well for Fluke, not being as ultra aggressive as you would be on a flying lap, but building more tyre temperature in there, Johnny, as he works himself towards Parabolica.
Yeah, so this is good so far from Jamie Fluke. He's only 300ths off Peter Berryman so far. He's got another lap in his hands, as we can see here, and he's going to blister his way through the start-finish straight across the line and up to past 200 miles an hour. We know how high speed this circuit at Monza is. Here's Gregor Hutu, though, across the line. Where will he climb? He's currently
outlap.
Got a lot of work to do. He's on his outlap, but we forgot, wasn't he? So now he climbs up to 215 miles per hour. Spot that brake marker to the left-hand side. It's so important to ride the curbs through the first couple of corners.
And we talked about Radicals not necessarily having a good day at this track, and then you just have Daniel Ernst Warrington going up into P number 4. This has been a fantastic topsy-turvy qualifying session. Jamie Fluke will be the first of 3 sets of drivers to come past the start-finish line. He works himself right now as De Jong up into 3rd place. Now we can see Fluke on the exit of Lesmo number 2. He's being really aggressive in that JCL Apex Racing UK machine as he works himself now down towards Ascari. Up to 217 miles an hour as he comes into the turning zone then. Little bit of looseness coming into the corner. Settles it down very nicely on the exit. Working himself now towards Curva Parabolica. We have got ourselves just over a minute and 40 seconds remaining in this one as Fluke, final corner, taking a double stab approach then Gergis up into 15th place, but what's it going to be for Jamie Fluke, as he'll be the first to cross the start-finish line, as he will come past? And he doesn't do it. He stays in second place. What, though, about the driver of Gregor Hutu? Because he's coming past the line right now, and he will go up only to P number 10. Now it's back to Martin Kroenke. Kroenke heading himself down towards Parabolica himself. We have a lot that we're going to have to talk about after qualifying is complete, because right now you've got a 1-2 for Apex Racing UK, Coanda 3rd and 4th, then you've got yourself Radicals in P number 5, and well, Team Redline nowhere to be seen right now. Martin Kroenke past the line, P number 4 only, 1-2 in qualifying, and 2 in a row then, Jake, for Apex Racing UK at Monza.
I wouldn't count your chickens just yet. We've still got Umashima out on a lap. Tommy Erskar crosses the line, does a 22.8. That doesn't improve him much more. Paul Ilbrink shouldn't really affect things in the Radicals on lines. Sideways machine, 23.5 his best. He does another 23.5. Umashima, though, a 22.635. It doesn't affect Pole, but it puts him position 7 on the 4th row. It leapfrogs Gregor Hutu outside of the top 10. And this has been a shocking qualifying for Team Redline. And were we surprised with the traditionally higher downforce that we see from Redline vehicles?
Yeah, indeed so. Qualifying is about to expire. I don't think Diego Oliveira will get to the line in time. No, he won't. Qualifying is over then, here from Monza. And, well, we've just seen some things that are very, very interesting. Let's have a look at your results from qualifying from Monza. It's Apex Racing 1-2. It's Club UK and Ireland 1-2. Peter Berriman claims pole position from teammate Jamie Fluke by 3/100ths of a second. Mitchell de Jong and Martin Kroenke make it an all-road 2 for Coanda Simsport. And then Daniel Arndt Wernsing, Matt Backham in row number 3. Kazuki Umashima, Kevin Ellis Jr., Antoine Heglin, and Marty Piatella rounds out your top 10. But get this. You got yourself 4 Apex Racing UK machines, 4 VOS Coanda Simsports cars, and then 2 others. And not a single Team Redline driver inside your top 10. Gregor Hutu, P number 11. Orion Race Team's David Acor in 12. 2 Burst Esports drivers on row number 7 with Rogers and then Jensen. Core Sim Racing in 15th place. Yalvaz, Yuta Saito, Tommy Erskard, Mo Garfilo, and Balis Remniak rounds out your top 20. As there is a remainder of the results up on your screen. No time set by Alexei Yusiakola. He will be starting in last place in that number 3 Team Redline car. And Frank Shawhorse, P number 24 for that team as well. Not good for them. Good for us, though, because we've got some fantastic racing that we still need to talk about, and that will happen after these messages. You're watching the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. We'll be back in a moment's time.
chair of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerick at the line.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Monza here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. Going to take then a quick look at the pole position lap. This will be on board with the driver of Peter Berriman. If we can just get our right controls working, bear with us for 5 seconds. As here we go then. Let's have a look on board with that driver of Peter Berriman. And well, okay, Johnny, he was very good on the first lap, but he left a bit on the table. This time, he blitzed it.
He definitely did, and you watch here, it's a very long run down to turn number 1. Watch this at the start of the race too, where there'll be a bit of a pile-up, but just drivers trying to slice and dice for positions. Looks for the brake marker here, into the first corner. Have a look at this. Beamless, brilliant, on the throttle on the exit, no wiggling, perfect traction. The rear end was planted. Now he hugs the inside to minimize the distance all the way to the run to this second Della Roggia chicane.
Works for the second chicane. A lot of curb again there, Jake. We saw a lot of drivers really abuse the curb in qualifying trim. You won't be able to get away with that on race pace. But Berriman, that car looks hooked up then into the two Lesmos as well.
And you can see just how hard he pushed through Lesmo 1 and again on Lesmo 2. Both times tyres on the left-hand side dipping into the gravel ever so slightly. That will kick up later on through the race, and that will just sully and dirty the track surface and make life a little bit more difficult to go through those corners. Now through Ascari, picking up the power, 6th gear, up to 7th gear as he looks to keep on pushing that power down. We'll see so many drivers look to over-push it at Ascari, maybe even kick the tail out as they go through. Parabolica down through the gears to 5th gear, looking to hold the inside, track out as much as you can to the outside, and then just straight line it, go pretty much to the pit wall to get to the finish. And that is a great lap from the Berryman who can.
Yes, it is. Peter Berriman then comes home with pole position. Apex Racing 1 and 2. And well, there are some people that thought this could happen for the second year in a row, Jake, and it has happened with Apex Racing getting pole position. But of course, one thing that they need to really work on sometimes is that race pace. But I think this year, because of the multiple strategy options, I don't think they're going to struggle as much as they did last year, because now they can dictate this race from the front.
They can. They've got 2 vehicles in the front, which was a lot more different from last year, where Berriman had to fight off against De Jong, against Kroenke, and against Gregor Hutu at the same time. Peter Berriman has a rear gunner in Jamie Fluke, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Apex look to try and control this race from the front, especially when you've got 2 title rivals behind, De Jong and Kroenke, who want to show what they're capable of. But at the same time, you have to be really careful with Apex, because traditionally, it's been their race pace that has let them down. It's what let Peter Berriman down for a podium last year here at Monza. It's got to be a great performance now from their race pace, which we've seen Apex like to throw the ball out, and I would even say, look out for someone like Antoine Higueland or Kevin Ellis Jr.
Yeah, and I think the fact they've got 4 drivers inside the top 10 means that they can be brave and they can be different in terms of strategy. Having a look then at Martin Kroenke, qualified 4th place here today. It's an all-Coanda road number 2 here, Johnny. Any other team, you'd start thinking, okay, maybe they'd be in a little bit of panic mode, but this is Coanda. They don't do panic mode.
No, they don't. They're well prepared. They're a well-oiled machine, and I think from everything from qualifying strategy to, I mean, I don't know if they go into this level of detail. I'm assuming they do, but what time they want to go out. It seems to be consistent week after week. Their preparation, as we said, and also strategies for the race and all that kind of liking. So the drivers work really well together. There's high chemistry within that team, and it's a great developmental atmosphere too. We've seen Mac Backham. He's still young. He's developed into a race winner, joining that team over the past couple seasons, and we should see more drivers in the future added to that squad and further improving their unit.
De Jong out qualifying Martin Kroenke as well, Jake. And that's interesting, of course, because of the way the championship is right now. Kroenke is behind Mitchell de Jong. And month of May, you know, well, I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to harken about it all day long. It's where Legends and champions are made. It is the proving ground of speed. And De Jong, well, again, he's done it on the racetrack. He's put himself ahead of Kroenke in qualifying. And always, you've got to remember that when De Jong is ahead of Martin, he makes it hard for that German to find a way past.
He does, because Mitchell de Jong has this ornate ability, Will, to just be able to frustrate whoever is behind him when he's the slower driver. And I think today he's not the slower driver. I think he wants to be in attacking mode. I think he wants to put distance today between himself and Martin Kroenke. Let's not forget that last year, Will, this was the closest race Mitchell de Jong was to breaking Martin Kroenke's streak, because he finished within 1 second at the line of Martin Kroenke. He has pace around here. I think he's quicker than Martin Kroenke around here. And I think Mitchell de Jong is going to really give a fight to Fluke and to Berryman.
Yeah, and the question's going to be there for Johnny. The two co-owner drivers fighting with each other, or do they need to work together to try and outsmart this JCL Apex Racing UK machine?
That's a legitimate question this season, because they're not running away with the title. De Jong only leads the championship at the moment by 6 points ahead of Gregor Hutu. Kroenke, we know what happened to him at Montreal with his technical issues, so he still has to fight back, and he's lost that drop round now with that P17 at Montreal. Backham, though, as well. I think Berryman, though, 5th in the championships, way too far back. He's more than a race behind at the moment. But you're right, Will. Do they have to start working together? And they have to look at, who's there to beat at the moment? 2 Apex drivers on the front row. Do they have something up their sleeves at the moment, the Apex drivers? So it's going to hold those Coanda duo back.
Yeah, and let's move back a little bit through this field. And I said earlier on, in some ways, Johnny, that Radicals isn't their strongest track. And then before you know it, you've got yourself Daniel Wenzing in P number 5. You've got Kazuki Yamashima in P number 7. They are only one of 3 teams that have qualified inside the top 10 today.
Yeah, so, brilliant effort anyway. And I think we reacted a bit too soon to Radicals and saying, oh, are they struggling and something going on? But Wensing, he has this occasionally right now. So, I mean, P5, I think that might be his career best qualifying performance, if I'm not mistaken. Umashima, we know he's had pole before, but he's very, very quick. He might be the quickest driver in the team at the moment. So, good to see him consistently up there. So, those guys to be up there in those top 7 positions, it's more about the race pace, though. We can't harp on and overreact too much to this qualifying performance. I think for Radicals, for me to be impressed, they have to get it done in the race.
I want to talk about 2 teams. I want to talk about the obvious one second, Jake. First of all, I want to talk about Burst Esports. Because they have got themselves row 7 locked up. But Burst Esports, I did expect one of them maybe to have been in the top 10 here today. Rogers has been good at qualifying so far this season. But do you think that's partially the same reason why you talk about certain teams nailing it here? Other teams just don't have those final thousandths of a second, that final mile an hour in qualifying pace at least.
Well, when you look at where Marcus Jensen is, for example, an ex-Apex Racing UK driver, you'd expect him potentially to bring that setup knowledge over to Burst Esports and look to use that here at Monza, and it's just not worked out for them. I think row 7 is a good representation of where they are. I think that when you look at where they are being on row number 7, I think that with the teams that have actually turned up today, I think that's not bad, but I think that they need to go out there and make the race their own, and I think that if they want to go out there and make a statement, they've got to make a move early, and they've got to follow against someone who's experienced, maybe even get behind Hutu and use them as a pick.
Let's talk about actually Hutu. P number 11, Johnny. Let's also talk about the rest of that team. Frank Shawhorse down in P number 24, Alexei Yusiaka in P number 29.
Oh, God.
Team Redline we're talking about.
Yeah. Oh God, I couldn't help myself as you were saying that. Just it could be a bit of lack of preparation as well. Alexius Yakla didn't look himself during qualifying, was making a lot of mistakes, or ironically, maybe that was himself. But 3 mistakes in qualifying, didn't quite string the lap together, had a few off track. So we did finish some laps, but they just didn't count. They were cancelled, obviously, for going off, especially at Lesmo 2, I saw in his last run, where he went completely off the racetrack into the gravel. But right now, Hutu's on his own. He's a lone figure, and there are people saying, hey, at the moment, Coanda's number 1. Team Redline's not the number 2 team, and they have a point. Right now, Gregor Hutu may have been the number 2 driver coming into this round, but as a team as a whole, I just think their commitment to the series in 2018 hasn't been as we've seen in the past. So we're not seeing Team Redline at their full potential for sure.
Yeah, let's have a quick chat with social media expert Connery Maddock before we head ourselves over to race coverage. Connery, a lot of surprises. What we're looking forward to on social media today?
Well, I was just about thinking of putting up a post to pose a question of whether Apex Racing UK can be the team that breaks the Coanda streak. It would be an absolutely fantastic result for them if they're able to, getting their first win and breaking the streak of Coanda. But we've still got this race to go, and this race can be crazy with the new tires that we have on these cars for this season, with the new strategies coming into play. I think it's a pretty good chance that Apex Racing UK can take this as long as Jamie Fluke can play rear gunner to Berryman.
Well, qualifying's in the books. All the drivers have to focus about now is the race, and of course, making it through one of the hardest first laps there is at any track. That has been qualifying coverage from the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpot TV, on iRacing Live, streaming on Facebook Live and on Twitch TV. Shout out to Esteban Balau and TrackCams22.com, Andreas Warner and One Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpot TV, Simon Grossman and AppEngineering.com, and of course, Nick Thiston for RaceSpot TV live timing and scoring. That will be available all race long. Well, Apex Racing UK, 1-2 in qualifying. Team Redline nowhere to be found. It's a topsy-turvy grid, and that will mean it'll be a topsy-turvy but exciting 5th round of the championship. And our coverage of that will start in just a few moments' time. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the premier open wheel World Championship Series in all of sim racing, the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And we'll be back with more after this. Here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMeritt at the line. welcome to Monza. Welcome to round number 5 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And it's the first race of this season to be taking place in Europe. It's Italy that get that privilege, that pleasure of welcoming the series back to the original home of Formula One star racing. And it's also the fastest track as we are in the month of May. And we always know that month is always about speed. In 8 days' time, so in 7 days' time even now, iRacing will play host to the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500, the fastest race in sim racing. But this is the fastest race in the World Championship Grand Prix Series by quite some margin. Drivers will be basically on full throttle for about 70 to 75% of the lap. But it's not the full throttle parts that make this race exciting. It's breaking it down into the 3 very difficult chicanes. The Variante della Rettifilo, the Variante della Roggia, and of course the Variante Ascari. 2 Curva Lesmos, a Curva Grande, and a Curva Parabolica make up the rest of this track. Welcome to RaceSpot TV, welcome to iRacing Live on YouTube Gaming, welcome on Twitch TV, and welcome on Facebook Live and everywhere else where you can watch us. It's Will Vinson along with Jake Sperry, Jonathan Simone. We've got Connery Maddock on social media as well. And well, let's have a look at the track then. Let's have a look at the track conditions. It's 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 22% race relative humidity. It is partially cloudy out there with wind speeds of about 5 miles an hour. Today we're going to go racing for 307 kilometers. That is 53 laps around this track. And well, we're just having a look at the trees that line the forest around Monza. And Jake, I think back to 1999 and Mika Hakkinen leading this race was doing so well, and he just spins and stalls the car at the chicane and the tears become flowing. And that's the thing about this racetrack. It is an emotional racetrack, and emotions have already been high in the 2018 World Championship season.
They have, and the Temple of Speed often is a place of memory. And you always have a memory of what has happened in the past. You may have a memory of what is going to go on that you create for the future. This is a circuit which takes a lot of time and dedication, which a lot of people do not give it credit for in terms of what it is capable of doing. And a lot of drivers have an affinity with this place. And if you can go out there and race 53 laps, which we expect to be a one-stop today with the conditions, Will, if you go out there, race 53 laps to the best of your ability, you should have a very, very good shot of a top 10, and it's not often you get to say that.
Yeah, indeed. So, as Johnny, we're going to start showing the grid along the bottom of your screen right now. It is 1-2 for Apex Racing UK, and look at that. Average lap speed of 156.31 miles an hour then for Peter Barron.
Yeah, it is going to be the quickest race of the season here at Monza, and we just cover that distance, the 305-kilometer minimum for this Grand Prix distance, the quickest out of any race during the season. And look at these guys through this Della Roggia chicane. The 2 Orion drivers, isn't it? I'm looking at Ilkka Haapala, and ahead of him it might be David Korps, if I'm not mistaken. So they're practicing a bit of driving in traffic. That's going to be critical today to manage as well if you're a mid-pack driver. But you spoke about the start, Will. It's a very extremely long run down to turn number 1. Over 600 meters. You go from 0 all the way to about 270 kilometers an hour. So it's a big run there, and then you have to slam on the brakes. More importantly, though, we're looking at 2 or 3 stops again for this race. Look out for the 3-stop runners to come in around about lap 13 onwards, but you can stretch it and make a 2-stop work, which is what we'll see most drivers on. And they will pit around lap 17 onwards during this race. Yeah,
it'll be very interesting what Apex Racing UK do. They might, in my opinion, try and go off sequence to everyone else. They might decide, at least one of those drivers, to just try and work this race from the very, very front and just find gaps in the traffic all day long. It's possible to do so here, but you've got to be perfect every single lap, a bit like Schumacher back in 1998 at the Hungaroring, qualifying lap after qualifying lap after qualifying lap. We can just see there. I'm just going to have to do something quickly here. Hopefully we'll be able to get our camera back working. There we are. So apologies about that one. But you can see the majority of the grid has cycled through on your screen. We've got ourselves about 10 seconds left of the warm-up until drivers will then get themselves ready for the start of this event. For those of you wondering, by the way, where our Team Redline, P number 11, P number 24, and P number 29 in your field here today. It's not been a good day for Team Redline, as the drivers will now take themselves over to the grid for this, the start of the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Don't forget, next week, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a double header. We have got ourselves the next round of the VRS GT World Championship. It's a 6-hour-long event, and that'll be here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live all afternoon long. And then again, we also have the running of the greatest spectacle in all of sim racing, the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. That one too will be here live only on Racesport TV. Cars are beginning to line up. They've got themselves about another 20 seconds or so in which to do so. Of course, standing start in all iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series events. Just waiting for the last couple of cars now. We are almost ready to go racing for the 5th round of the championship. As Johnny alluded to a moment ago, it's a long run down in towards turn number 1. It's going to be one of those cases where you really have got to find your way and navigate through the traffic. Lights are on. The 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series is underway. Bit of a sluggish start then, actually, by your pole position driver of Berryman. They come down in towards turn number 1. Peter Berryman's lost himself P number 2 already, and they're side by side as they head themselves in towards turn number 1 for the first time. But Berryman looks as though he's able to get back through. We've got cars turned around. Radical's online machine involved in that one. We'll keep it with these photos for a moment, because it's worth noting that Mitchell de Jong is at the front of your field right now and is battling side by side. Fluke has gone back to the point. De Jong back down into second place, and you've got Martin Kroenke battling it out right now with Peter Berryman as well. So it's all changed out front, but Apex Racing continue to lead right now as we go on board with Kroenke. Wide then is Mitchell de Jong. Has de Jong had himself an issue? Because he's falling down the field. A slowdown penalty for Mitchell de Jong, and he's dropped back then from leading the race, now down to the rear end of the top 10, Jake.
Yes, he has. He missed turn number 1, and on the first lap, a slowdown penalty is a lot more heavier than it would be on any other lap, because you haven't set time previous. He's now with Davide Corpse and now with Paschalis Jurgis. That's a disaster for the driver of Mitchell de Jong, who made a stunning start in towards turn number 1. It's released Jamie Fluke into the lead of this event. Berryman now has to play rear gunner to Martin Kroenke in third, and now it's all about who could make the good start. And I tell you who has made a good start, Mr. 5-time Gregor Hutu, already challenging Kevin Ellis Jr. and Daniel Laurent Wensing.
Yeah, and Hutu is up into P number 7 as it seems right now. As we have a look then at ahead, you've got yourself Ellis Jr. and Wensing side by side in towards turn number 1. And it looks as though that Ellis Jr. will have that inside line. Wensing down in P number 6. Gregor Hutu, let's go on board of him though on the exit of the first of the 3 chicanes. Live timing scoring is available. Visit raceboy.tv/timing. As here we are, here's Hutu looking down to the inside, but late braking there, Johnny, by the driver of Wensing, able to defend the position.
Wensing almost took out Kevin Ellis Jr. though. Here's Hutu though. A look up at Lesmo 1. That is not a good overtaking spot. And look right behind, Marty Piatella ready to pounce. So is Jurgis in that core sim racing car. So these guys all trying to avoid the off track and all trying to avoid that slowdown penalty. DRS still not enabled. It's going to make overtaking extra difficult in these first couple of laps.
Yeah, just to let you know, Mitchell de Jong has come on towards pit road, so he's actually now at the very, very rear of the field.
Because he had that slowdown at turn 1, Will, as we said, but it wasn't just any normal slowdown. He completely missed the entire corner and went over the anti-cut curbs too, so it might have even been a pit penalty. Yeah,
as there's Stephen Michaels, Positive Sim Racing into the Parabolica. Yuta Saito's just gone past, moving himself up into 19th place on track. Out front, by the way, here's Jamie Fluke, and there is Peter Berryman in towards that first of the 3 chicanes. That is a Variante del Rettifilio, and the gap is 1.2 seconds. That's important there, Jake, because it means that Fluke is out of DRS range from Peter Berryman.
for now, because that gap came down on that last lap. We're on the second lap of 53 as they head to the Variante della Roggia. It's Martin Kroenke forcing Peter Berryman to go quicker. Berryman is the quicker driver out of Berryman and Fluke at this stage, but that could all change on this next lap. I think Berryman knows he's got to run at a pace to stave off Kroenke, because Kroenke is just going to be relentless all race long. That's what we talk about, and now they've got Mac Backham actually sitting, waiting in the wings, position number 4. Remember, he's not out of this championship fight just yet.
Yeah, Backham, of course, winning the first of, well, what will hopefully be a number of wins for him in the World Championship Grand Prix Series a couple of rounds ago, joining a number of Coanda Sim Racing drivers who have done that. But here's Kroenke then, right now, I say on the rear of Peter Berryman, because of how long these straights are, because of how fast they are going, it does look as if the distance is further than what you get at most tracks. Kroenke taking the double stab approach through the parabolica. You've got to be careful not to push too wide there, because if you do catch the drain, it can spin that car around. Kroenke will have DRS here. He'll have Urs. He'll come down into the first chicane, and it looks almost easy then for the time being. Kroenke, can he slow it down? The answer is yes, he can. Kroenke up into P number 2. Berryman down into 3rd, Johnny.
Yeah, good move there. So Berryman now falling down quite instantly. So he's got to manage this race quite well at the moment. He's in the Coanda sandwich. He is not going to get past Martin Kroenke anytime soon. But how about Jamie Fluke leading this race, Will? He's certainly got a race win on his clutches, but it's a bit too early to call. Have a look at this with Balazs Remignac. It looks ultra intense heading into the Della Roggia, but he'll form up heading into this very tight left-right chicane.
Yeah, ahead, Yao Vaz battling it out with Marcus Jensen. That's for P14 on track as well. Just want to keep an eye out on this battle going on now in P number 10. Josh Rogers up into 10th position. So he's moved up a few places early in this event. In the Burst Esports number 92 car. And then just ahead of him is Pash Gergis in the Course Racing number 41, Jake. So a good start by a couple of drivers. We'll run through the start again in a couple of moments' time. But for Rogers, he's now into that top 10, putting pressure on Course Racing.
Well, he's got to pressure Gergis, because Gergis has to find the pace to get onto the rear of the Piatella Hutu Wensing train that goes on in front. It's about finding yourself with draft at this circuit. Gergis does not have anything really to go. Here comes 5-time though, down to the inside of Daniel Laurent Wensing, and he says, thank you, Sonny Jim. I'll have that position, and I'll put a bit of butter on the toast as well to go with it. His next challenge, Kevin Ellis Jr., and that is never an easy challenge. Ellis Jr. knows how to fight and how to fight well. Here comes Martin Piatella though.
Yeah, here is Piatella as he looks down to the outside as they come into the second chicane, the Variante della Roggia. Piatella can't do anything just yet. Wensing remains ahead for the time being. Now he'll have to stay in line all the way through the 2 Lesmos and probably on the run down to Ascari as well. We have seen some breathtaking moves over the years, not just in the World Championship Series, but also in Grand Prix racing down on this run through the, what is technically 7A, I'll call it. The run down to the Variante Ascari as they come underneath the bridge where the oval goes on top of it, and Piatella will have to wait for just a little bit longer. Kroenke has started to close the gap down to Jamie Fluke. It is now 5/10 of a second. So we're going to turn our attention over to that one, this battle for the race lead. Now, Kroenke was about 3.5 of a second behind Berryman when he was able to use the DRS and use the ERS to get past. This time, he isn't actually able to gain much of anything at all. Maybe he's just saving the ERS for one big push when he gets to in about that 2.5-3 of a second window there, Jake.
Oh yes, he is, and down the inside, Mac Backham looks at Peter Berryman, but unable to make that one work. Berryman was very forceful on the exit of the Variante de Rettifilo, said, no, you do not get room, because you tried to go for the inside against me, so great battle. And yes, Martin Kroenke was saving ERS on the run to the Rettifilo. He was not close enough. He had no need to attack and use that ERS, because he can use the ERS later on in the lap to try and make something maybe a little bit easier of a move to work. But Backham, he's looking feisty, he's looking aggressive again. I like this Mac Backham as he looks to attack Berryman, and Berryman will happily go toe-to-toe. I think the pair of them are two of the greatest battlers in this series.
Yeah, as there is Antoine Hegelin versus David Acor. We just showed the battle, or showed the replay of the pass that was happening there. Out front though, here is Kroenke. He's got the gap now down to 4/10 of a second. Kroenke into the wall, out of the race. Martin Kroenke. Wow. What a shock then. I can't remember the last time I saw Martin Kroenke have something as dramatic as that happen to him in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Replay coming up for you now. We're on board of him at a time. Let's get another look in. Well, John, he was fine for the first 2 flicks of that. And I'm just going to pause it here. He doesn't even cut the anti-cup curve. He just gets on the power too much. Martin Kroenke loops that car around. I cannot believe it.
Oh, and look at the avoiding action as well. That was almost as legendary, but he was in no man's land. When you pause it there and he went into that little death spin, there is no chance of saving that. At the speeds he was going there, around about 200 kilometers an hour, that's a corner where it's so easy to get right. So hard to get right, excuse me, the opposite. And I always talked about Ascari. The bump through here makes it difficult, and then the tightness of this left-hander. And he was pushing. You could tell there, Will. That's the most bizarre crash I've ever seen in his career.
Wow, and that means that once again, we have got 1 and 2 for Apex Racing UK. Mac Backham is in third, and I have to say right now, Hutu is up into P number 4. So all of a sudden, it looks as though that Coanda looking more vulnerable than they might have done in the last 18 months, Jake.
They look freakishly vulnerable. The wheels have fallen off the wagon. It's the first time probably in 3 years I've seen Martin Kroenke actually crash a vehicle. I've never seen him crash in my sim racing career, may even be before that. Battle for second though, Berryman under pressure, and there's going to be nothing left to fight with because he knew that Mac Backham was too close, and Backham down the inside takes position number 2. Coanda's streak's not over yet, Will. Backham's got to now toe the line because we know that Mitchell de Jong has put himself in with a pit stop 50 seconds off the race lead. We know that Martin Kroenke has done the rarest thing in the world and binned the machine. It's now up to Backham to go make things work. Not only is it up to Backham to make things work, he's got to put points on Hutu, who of course may just take the championship lead and should take a big championship lead actually heading to round 6 of the championship if things stay like this.
Yeah, I just need to interrupt here. We might need to take a quick break here on Racebot TV and on iRacing Live. In fact, no, what we're going to do for the moment, we're just going to show you the start of this event again. So we're going to take you back to the very start of this race, as here we are then. As we go and show you the start, as the cars will head themselves in towards turn number 1, hopefully. As we'll just turn our attention. I want to keep it on this middle part of the pack here to start with, Johnny, because you can just see how they all bunch up. You had yourself a couple of people. Actually, a lot of the Radical cars were all involved in those incidents at the very start. But now we want to show you what happened with Mitchell de Jong. This is in towards turn number 1. So we need to rewind this one just a tiny, tiny bit. But he had a fantastic start, getting himself to the very front. And then all of a sudden, you just can't slow it down for the corner.
Yeah, and this is where he had to, he sped through there as well, which might have made I don't know if that made the penalty worse or not, but he certainly had to back off from here, and then the rest of the lap just became worse and worse. Had to let the rest of the field through. Can I give you some more bad news, Will?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one in 1 second. We are going to talk about that one in 1 second's time here. Because just want to have one more look to say as those cars come in towards turn number 1. So we're just going to just zoom that one out a tiny bit. And you can see then Radicals, they have one car turn around there. And then a few more, they all bunch up. We often expect that, Jake, in towards turn number 1 on Monza. So just go back then straight a battle between P1 and 2.
Yeah, and you always have that battle at Monza that always looks to try and get itself going. You always see how every single driver wants to just start closing that gap down more and more and more. And the more that you get yourself in that tow, the easier an overtake happens here. It's one of those few circuits you look at and say, okay, DRS is vitally important, more important than ever. And I think that's something that you need to see moving forward. That's what you need to do. Get yourself within a second, then get yourself within half a second, and then go make the move. Berryman's not away, though, from Matt Backham and needs to stay within 1 second to get pulled along.
Yeah, we've had 3 technical issues for drivers. Ilka Harpala, Marty Piatella, and Gregor Hutu all having technical issues at the same time. We're not going to speculate too much about that, but Gregor Hutu, of course, he was looking as though he was going to take a commanding lead in the World Championship Grand Prix Series after what has been a bad day for both the drivers of of course, Martin Kroenke, but also Mitchell de Jong. I just want to show you the championship graphic heading into this one, Johnny. And it would have been Gregor Houtu pulling away, I would have said, by about 20 points or so, and he would have leapfrogged de Jong. But now it's all status quo as it stands in the championship.
Yeah, you're right. Let's put this race into perspective right now. There's a potential for Mac Backham to walk away, well, sprint away with the championship lead at the moment, if things keep going his way for the rest of this event. More importantly, though, we could see a brand new race winner in the World Championship. This is one of those races where it's wide open. The first 10 laps have been bizarre. We haven't even hit the first pit stop phase. And we could have Jamie Fluke, Peter Berryman, maybe even Kevin Ellis Jr. or Josh Rogers winning their first race. What about Pash Jurgis in 6th? They're all close together here near the front.
Yep, so there is Peter Berryman currently running in 3rd place. Let's go back, though, and have a look at this battle that we talked about earlier on, Jake. Pash Jurgis in the Corsium racing car, Tommy Ørsgaard in VRS Carolina Simsport and the number 1 machine. Tommy Ørsgaard right now about 6 tenths per second behind Pash Jurgis in the number 41 car. He has now been passed by Josh Rogers as Rogers moves up into P5.
Well, Rogers moving up into position 5. He is looking to charge on a 25.7 that last time by 3/10 slower than Kevin Ellis Jr. But Jurgis has to be careful now because Tommy Ørsgaard started 18th, now up into 7th position, plus 11 as things stand. Is within that range and closed 3/10 of a second on that last lap. So for Tommy Ørsgaard, it's time for him to step up to the plate. Batter, swing. He's got to get past the Greek.
Jamie Fluke right now has had Matt Backham get within that 1 second window. And, well, one thing you talked about earlier on, Johnny, was the fact that if you are going to be bold and do the free stopper, pit road, that window opens at lap number 13. So we're 2 laps away from that. But I don't think we're going to see too many people even contemplating that. In fact, I think a lot of teams are probably compromise and change their strategies, knowing all the craziness that is existing around them. I'm actually just trying to have a look through the field and see whether there is an opening and there is a gap. There is actually one around P number 20, P number 21, that if you did pit now, you might come into, but it's a very risky strategy.
No, exactly. You're right. And that's why you find these front runners actually opting for the strategy with the least amount of stops. I thought Jurgis was about to enter the pit lane there. We saw a car wide ahead. It's Jurgis, you can see. It's a small little dot ahead of Higelin here. Higelin's closing in on Wensing and should be able to make a move into turn number 1, and that is a simple one. Wensing was in no man's land, but you bring that up, Will, and more importantly, Monza, it's not that strenuous on tyres. If anything, the rear tyres take the biggest hit because of all the traction zones, and there aren't really any high-speed left or right-handers.
Yep, 2 Radicals drivers going at it that were in the wars early on. Kazuki Omishima qualified well, Jake, but has fallen down the field to P number 20 after being turned around into the first chicane, the Variante di Rettifilo. On lap number 1 of this event, Mogar Filo not having a great race as well, down in P number 21. Radicals looking to try and salvage something now from today.
Well, I think they're doing a good job, though, still. They've still got Rensing inside the top 10. I think they've still got a chance to get some very good points out of this. You can even argue that Umeshima can make some charges through the field. When he gets the bit between his teeth, we know that he can push on forward. But I have to go back to the front of the field, Will, because Matt Backham's brought the gap under a second and is looking to really hound down Jamie Fluke. Also note the track conditions today. 32 degrees. It is average. It is pretty much ideal conditions to race in today, Will. I expect it to be a one-stop race because of the cold conditions. The tyre wear will not be as large.
It won't be as we go on board with Ørsgaard once again. He's got the ERS, but no. He's had DRS, but he didn't have the ERS running there full pelt. It's the number 1 machine remaining in P number 7 for the time being. Jurgis holding on to that 6th place. Let's have a look at the lap gaps then between P number 1 and P number 2, and you'll notice that it's all green for Matt Backham. He's closed now a total of about half a second over the last 3 laps here. So Johnny, Backham is closing, but when you know the fact that you've had one of what I like to characterize as the calmest, smoothest drivers in the World Championship Series make an unforced error down at the Variante Ascari, someone's going to be saying to Matt Backham, bring that car home.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's... Oh, God, you made a mistake there during Ascari. Just as he said that. He might be listening to you. might have just made him a little bit nervous there. He might even lose DRS here. Depends where he is at the detection point in comparison to Jamie Fluke. But looking at the lap times at the moment, they're a second off their early laps in this stint. Now, I wouldn't be surprised, Will, if someone decides to one-stop this race at the moment. It's possible. You only have to make it to about lap 22, and you'll be fine to one-stop the race.
We're into two-stop window territory almost already. Let's not forget, you generally can make that second and third run on a two-stopper last longer because you haven't got that 100 kilos of fuel in that car, which weighs that car down. It is literally like having an overweight person like me sat in the car, basically going around the entire race. As Gergis then has now lost that position to Tommy Erskard. Let's see if we can get a replay of that one in towards turn number 1. Here it is then on the exit of Curva Parabolica, and it is basically exactly what we expected it to be. You can see that Gergis has been losing quite a bit of time over Erskard, but Erskard just goes down to the inside. Easy as that. Move him up now into 6th position. So really, today we're talking about, and I've got to be careful what I say here, Jake. We are talking about almost the second level drivers within Coanda, Matt Bacchio, Tommy Erskard, who really are having now to try and right the ship of what had otherwise been a disastrous first 10 laps of this motor race.
There's a leak in the boat, and the hole is about the size of the Grand Canyon, I'll tell you that much right now. So a lot of work for Coanda to do, but it's not a race that's over. Remember, Will, we're only starting now lap 15 of 53. There's a lot of time left in this event for moves to be made, for positions to be gained, and for drivers to make some great progress. Orion have made great progress, for example. Yao Vaz is inside the top 10 with a second there or thereabouts to a massive train, which is being spearheaded right now by all people.
Well, he's in.
Brake show towards plus 12, but it's a 2-stop time for Yao Vaz.
Yeah, so the Orion race team car then of Yao Vaz coming on to pit road. As well, let's just have a look then. As he pulls that car nicely in towards his pit box. Got another driver on pit road as well. That will be the driver of Ricardo Orozco. So pit stop time then for Yao Vaz. That's 3.9. That's in the window of what we normally expect. And there is Ricardo Orozco in the University Isabella 1 positive sim racing car. Again, 3.9 seconds as well, as he's going to make that journey out of pit road. Pit road here, just to let you know, you've got to hold it all the way down that long front straightaway until the white line ends, which is about there. Otherwise, you will get yourself a penalty. And it can get pretty scary, actually, Johnny, when you've got cars doing about 150, 160 miles an hour more than you as you exit pit road, just blasting past.
Yeah. Can I also just compliment Istvan Bello on his track camera work? This is insanely brilliant. This might be his best track and his best work here. Everything's positioned perfectly. We get the best action, the best camera shots, and I love his work, Istvan Bello. He does all the work behind the scenes for us.
Yeah, as we just see, David Acor versus Marcus Jensen. This is a battle going on outside your top 10, as David Acor does just get that car a little bit tight on corner exit, but he's battling out as Peter Berryman is on pit road then. So hold it all for a moment. Peter Berryman is on pit road. So this is interesting. I did say that maybe you might end up with them splitting their strategy, Jake, and it looks as though that Apex may well be doing that to try now and counter off Matt Backham.
Well, I think it's worth it for Peter Berryman because he is in that range to go and win, but look at who he's with coming out of pit road. He's got Dion Vergis and Mo Garfilio to try and get past, and that is not ideal on an outlap to have to try and get past drivers. He'll look to get the run then through Curva Grande, this sweeping right-hander where you always look to try and keep the power down. I think he'll have to look to the inside and make a lunge, and you know what? I think that was as easy as it was going to be from Dion Vergis, so that's Berryman up in position. But I wonder whether Kevin Ellis Jr. would have been the better candidate, Will, to make that happen, to bring Ellis Jr. back into the race for Apex.
I don't think so, and the reason for that one is you need to be close, and it was close. Here's a replay then of Berryman down on the inside on the Variante della Roggia. Gets himself past up into P number 17, but of course he has made a pit stop. Let's bring you up to speed very quickly here then. Jamie Fluke leads. The gap between himself and Matt Backham is currently 4 tenths of a second. Backham just staying in line right now as we get ourselves closer to the, well, closer to the halfway point. Halfway, of course, is 26 laps in this event. top 8 down at the bottom of your screen for you. It's Fluke leading by 0.3 per second over Matt Backham. Kevin Ellis Jr. is in third, but he is 4.7 seconds back, which is why the strategy might not have worked as well had you put Ellis Jr. in, because it wouldn't have allowed Backham to react, wouldn't have forced Coanda into reacting as much. Josh Rogers currently in P number 4, Tommy Erskard in 5th, Pas Gergis in 6th, Antoine Hegelin in 7th, Daniel Arndt Wernsing in P number 8. And you saw the reason why my voice went up a couple of octaves there, Johnny, because Matt Backham is now, again, a Coanda driver, really overdriving a car behind an Apex Racing UK machine.
He's had a few of those moments. He had one through here, we saw earlier as well, through Ascari. I hate this corner. You never get it right. You're never satisfied through the exit of it. But he's got a real good chance here to make an overtake on Jamie Fluke, and he's in the perfect track position. Do the opposite to Jamie Fluke. If he pits, continue. If he doesn't, you have an option to enter your pit box. Let's have a look here through the exit. Continue, Mac, and he does. Brilliant strategy.
So Matt Backham then goes to the top of the scoring pylon as here comes Jamie Fluke on towards pit road. So he goes a couple of laps longer, Jake, but I thought they would have done a 1 versus 2 stop then. So Apex are still being conservative to an extent as Ellis Jr. is on pit road, Antoine Hegelin on pit road. So it looks as though more than anything, it was Berryman who just came in a bit early.
I think so, but Jamie Fluke comes in at a very interesting point, Will. He comes in at a time where if he really is bold, he really is brave, he could change it to a 1-stop if he feels that's the quicker way. Through, though, goes Peter Berryman. He leapfrogs Jamie Fluke. So now I wonder another question, Will. I wonder if they wanted Berryman in front because they feel he's the quicker driver.
Or, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure about this one. Because the way the strategy is, you've almost got to guarantee here, Jake, that Berryman will have to 2-stop here. So yeah, he might go ahead, but he needs to be ahead on track because otherwise it's complete wasted strategy between the two of them.
I agree with you there, Will, and I think that Peter Berryman is now needing to put in the fire lap times that we know he can. Question now becomes for Matt Backham, does he convert to a 2 or does he stay to the 1? Because if he stays to the 1 stop, he's now in this one for a very, very long time on the old tyres. What you see if he goes to the 2 stop, he will have to be behind both Apex vehicles and look to charge again. Backham stays out. I think he's committing to a 1 stop.
Yeah, as there is Marcus Jensen versus Michael Partington right now. Burst Esports going at it against Radicals Online. This is a nice new rivalry that's developing in the World Championship Grand Prix Series between Radicals and Burst Esports.
Yeah, definitely is. And as we see Marcus Jensen now under attack on Michael, he's using the draft just a little bit well here. DRS open, that's going to make things a lot easier. And look behind, no one really to hamper his energy there. One of the Orion Racing cars not in the way. Brilliant pass from the young Marcus Jensen, who switched from Apex Racing UK to Burst Esport earlier on this year. But now here is the driver of Michael Partington, the rookie. He's got a shot here to fight back. He's trying to impress on the big screens.
Yep, but he can't do so. Has to remain then down in P7 for the time being. Let's run you through a couple of things then. First of all, your retirees from this event. Alexi Usiakoda, Team Redline. Martin Cronke for Coanda Simsports. Diego Oliveira, that number 6 machine for Evolution Racing Team, out early on here today. We've also then got ourselves Martin Piatella and Gregor Hutu. Each had technical difficulties at around the same time. Ilka Hapala had some technical issues as well, but he has been able to get going, albeit 2 laps down in this event as it stands. Battle going on between David Court and Michael Partington. So Partington now under pressure from the Orion Race Team driver of David Court, and this is for P number 7 on track, Jake.
Yeah, and that battle for position number 7 is going to be a crucial one because Jensen's trying to break away from Partington and Davide Corpse is starting to come back into this battle, which is not going to be ideal for the situation. DRS then activates as they head down this front stretch towards Rettifilio, and De Corpse, he'll have a chance to look to the inside of Partington, a Partington who crashed out here in the Road to Pro, but too deep, too big, too bold from Davide Corpse. He'll straight line and he'll serve a slowdown.
Yeah, and we apologise to all that was affected by the incident there. Those 2 cones did absolutely nothing wrong. So David Court gets that slowdown penalty. And I think that David Williams is not close enough to take advantage. No, he's not. Williams currently running in 9th place, and that number 27, Coanda Simsports machine. So drivers who are pitted here today. Peter Berryman, Jamie Fluke, Kevin Ellis Jr., all three Apex Racing UK machines, along with the fourth being Antoine Hegelin. You've got Yao Vaz from the Orion Race Team, Frank Shawhorse for Team Redline. Then you've got yourself Stephen Michaels, Mitchell Guillaume, Ricardo Orozco, Banis Remniak, Yuta Saito, Kazuki Mishima, Paul Brinkberger, Fila Ilka Hapala. So we are on a split strategy, but you made a very interesting point a moment ago, Johnny, off there from us, that he's losing quite a bit of time right now, is Matt Backham, to these two Apex Racing UK drivers. He can pit at any point now and really want to stop it to the end.
No, exactly. Can I just interrupt quickly? Berryman, I think, has crashed, actually. Yeah, he's crashed with David Williams.
Oh, my word. Let's get ourselves a replay of that one in just 1 second's
Fluke
time.
was involved. Sorry to interrupt there. Fluke was involved in the incident too.
What? Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Replay coming up for you. Let's find some way of looking at this. Replay the tape, and what a crazy day it has been here in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And there is Peter Berryman. Let's have a look at him on board. I tell you what, they're going to be livid. Yeah, this was for track position, so this was a legitimate battle for track position. This was into the Ascari chicane. And then Fluke gets himself a damaged front wing as a consequence. I want to have a couple more looks at this one before I make any form of judgment. Because Berryman, you can see, he gets himself alongside the driver of David Williams coming into the Variante Ascari. I've got to put that one on Berryman, really, just by having a look at the turn of that car. I say, let's have one more look before we make anything definitive here. But Jay, I have a feeling there that maybe, and I've not seen it from this aerial footage yet. So I'm looking at this for the first time in towards Variante Ascari coming into the corner. I mean, I've got to ask the question: where would David Williams go?
Well, that's the question I ask as well, because the way that Williams was tracking out, actually, I guess he didn't leave enough room. I'm going to put that as a racing incident, Will, because I think that David Williams needs more insight, actually, into how quick he is and who he's fighting with around. Yes, he's allowed to battle with Peter Berryman, and there's nothing wrong with him battling it out with Peter Berryman, but at exactly the same time, I'm not sure he's left him enough room on that outside. He's tracked out into him, but that's the nature of the corner. At the same time, Peter Berryman needs to pick and choose when he makes those moves, because if he gets himself involved in an incident like he did, he's now out of the race. It takes a bit of both, I think, Will, in that situation to make an incident like that happen. And Jamie Fluke, I think, is the unluckiest man in all of this, because he was searching for a bit of space, looking to get around it, and he just runs into Berryman, nowhere else to go.
Yeah. I agree with Jake. Racing incident, and just what made it even more difficult for David Williams was the fact that he's on a line that has no rubber, lots of marbles, and on the inside there's just no grip there. So it makes the turn in extra difficult. It's probably something he hasn't even practiced for a couple of weeks. Like, how often does he take that tight of a line into Ascari as well? And that could be the first time in maybe a year that he's actually performed that line.
And it's not an overtaking place where you do much. I mean, yes, you would do a lap traffic later on into the event, Johnny. I mean, having had a look at it a couple more times on my mobile device, I can kind of agree. Yeah, racing incident overall, there was nothing malicious there at all. I mean, of course, the story writers would love to say that, you know, Coanda might have just helped themselves get another victory in the series, but it wasn't malicious. You can clearly tell that. But I think that to counter Jake's point a tiny bit, there could have been just a little bit more care, because, you know, we talked about this a moment ago. Apex were gaining on Matt Backham at a rate of knots. They didn't have to make the fast pass there, but at the same time, yeah, Williams, of course, you know, he's racing a number one world championship series. He knows how to race. Maybe he might not have to defend the position that hard, but he did have the inside line into Ascari. So it's a 50. It's a crazy part of a crazy race here today.
No, exactly. You're right. And as we see Higgling go past David Williams, probably flipped him off on the way past as well, because he's an Apex driver. But in all seriousness, I'm confused now with how this race is going, because look at the field. A lot of them are on that one stop, like we said now. You can stretch the one stop, you can make it work. Backham's trying to make it work. Josh Rogers is 10 seconds off the lead. Yao Vaz here, he has pitted though, and he goes past Dion Verges, who's on a one stop. Vaz is on that two-stop strategy. and go straight past in that striking blue livery. But most importantly, it looks like Kevin Ellis Jr. is effectively going to finish second in this race if things continue this way. Jamie Fluke is going to have a longer second stop because of that damaged front wing.
Yes, as we're just having a look then at the data for Kevin Ellis Jr. He's 6 laps now into his second stint in that JCL Apex Racing UK machine. It was a 4-second stop for him, 29.4 between the start of pit road and the end of pit road. But here's the interesting bit. This is the gap between him and the race leader. It is still coming down, Jake. It's 24.8 seconds right now. And we were just saying earlier on, it was going to be nip and tuck between Backham and Berryman when it was the 24-second gap. Ellis Jr. can win this motor race.
He can win this motor race, Will, and I'll say something right now. He's closing at a rate with a 24.5 compared to what Matt Backham's doing on a 26.2. That's 1.7 seconds on that last lap. I wondered, should you have pitted Kevin Ellis Jr. first on this strategy? I think I'm being rewarded right now in this situation, but Ellis Jr. is not safe, though. He's actually got to make some positions right now because in front of him is Michael Partington, Radicals online. He's got to get through, and he'll be hurt by the dirty air through Ascari. And now he'll look to close down in that gap, heading to Parabolica. No DRS at this section. He will out of Parabolica, but this one should be plain sailing now for JCL Apex Racing UK.
Yeah, as here we are then on the exit of Curva Parabolica. A little bit of understeer for Kevin Ellis Jr., but he will get himself past Michael Partington in the number 15 Radicals on line machine. 124.784 for him that last time by as he crosses the stripe. Backham leads right now as Partington is actually on pit road for the first time today, I think, Johnny? Yep, out and away he goes.
The worst part, though, is he gets a great pit box. If you're Peter Berryman and you qualify so well, you're all the way up to the wall there on the right-hand side, which made that extra difficult for him. Peter Berryman, though, unfortunately out of the race, so he doesn't have to worry about that anymore, ironically. Partington now into a bit of clean air. David Corpse there he is on screen, very far behind. He's got a couple of Radicals teammates in Umashima and Yuta Saito behind. Paul Ilbrink, Mogar Filio. How about that? 5 Radicals cars outside the top 15. Not what they want to hear, Will.
No, they had such a good second half of qualifying after we almost wrote them off. But race pace, it all started on lap number 1 for them as Matt Backham will stay out and do yet another lap. Going to start lap number 25 of 53 here. And Radicals, well, that's the thing. They had themselves a decent qualifying, but Jake, once you're in that mid-pack, you know, there's something like joke at Monza. You're better off starting where Freight Shorthorse was, down in P number 24, than you are starting between about P number 12 and P number 20.
But you do forget that Daniel Laurent Wensing right now is still in position number 5 and actually coming down in to serve his first stop here for his one-stop strategy. So I still think they've got a good chance of getting a good result. Yes, it's not the 4 or 5 good results that they want, but a good result is better than no good results that a lot of other teams are going to be facing today.
Yeah, as here is Wensing then. He's actually going to have a hard track out because of the fact that he's got Martin Cronke's car just ahead of him. Martin Cronke, I think, is trying to actually get some repairs to that race car. Please be careful, Martin Cronke. 9.5, long stop for him, and he comes out right behind the Burst Esports car of Marcus Jensen. The two go back on track, separated by half a second. The long pit stop there for Wensing essentially means, Johnny, that Jensen is now up into P14.
Yeah, exactly. So Wensing still having a good race so far, though. He's the only Radicals driver out there who's having a positive event. So we'll see where he ends up. Michael Partington, though, as well. I don't want to take it away from him. He looks like he could be finishing a decent result. Mac Backham, though, here he is into the pit lane finally for that one stop.
Yeah, as you just saw, a 3.8 second pit stop for Josh Rogers a lap ago. So now this is going to be where things get very interesting. Here is Matt Backham. He's just going to bring it into his pit stall. You're looking for about 4 seconds, unless there's damage somewhere to that Coanda car. No, 3.9, out and away. But Kevin Ellis Jr. has got himself up already to the race lead. Now, what about past Gergis? I don't think he will get... Nope, Gergis actually on towards pit road anyway. But look at that, Fluke and Hegelen. It's all going to be very close. And actually, Fluke will get ahead in towards the first chicane. So actually, it's not over yet for Apex Racing UK. And Hegelen right now has got to be the Tiger hunting down Mac Backham as they come down in towards the Variante della Roggia. Well, Johnny, you were right all along in terms of this, but here comes Backham, immediately being aggressive. Second chicane, and he makes the position up into P2.
Yeah, brilliant. Look at Anton Hegelin. Oh, he has a poor exit, though, out of Della Roggia. And he's going to have to form up into the Lesmos right now as we look at the replay on screen. This is Mac Backham making a very simple move there on the driver of Jamie Fluke, who has front wing damage, don't forget. Boxes him in around the outside, and Backham takes the racing line. So simple move there, fundamental, and no mistakes. Doesn't break and miss the apex of the corner. None of that. Takes an ideal line and gets the job done. That's what you see out of a driver who is a potential world champion.
Yeah, and what we also saw there is Jamie Fluke falling behind Antoine Hegelin. That one actually makes a lot of sense here, Jake, because Jamie Fluke's car is damaged. It has got that front wing damage. And if you want to keep the ability for Apex Racing UK to potentially win this motor race, then you've got to have the drivers with the least damage to start with, and also the fast drivers out front charging. It's no point having Fluke then. Actually, Fluke's on towards pit road for his second pit stop. He's going to basically now just cover his losses and try and go to the end.
Yeah, it's a good strategy right now for Jamie Fluke. Yes, the tyres are going to go away, but he'll push at the same rate that Mac Backham is, and he'll just hope that those tyres will work himself to the end. He's going to drop a lot of positions because it's the longer stop. They have to change the front nose on that machine. Down off the jacks, off and away he goes. Through has gone Kazuki Umishima. Next up going through will be Paul Ilbrink trying to make some positions. He'll get himself through. There goes Saito. There goes Mogarfilio down the inside of Yuta Saito with a bit of guns ablaze. They go through. Now he's got to try the gauntlet here, get past the Radicals boys.
Yep, and of course we know that over the years there's been so much fantastic racing between JC and Apex Racing UK and the Radicals online car sponsored by Six Sideways, as we're on board with Jamie Fluke. Also, I just noticed in the corner of my eye, Johnny, guess who's back into the top 10? It's the one and only Mitchell de Jong.
Yeah, I know. I think these pit stops have shuffled up the field, as well as the abundance of crashes that they've realized they're not immortal anymore. So that's the way this race is going. By the way, one of the best sim racers in the world in Frank Schotthorst. He started P24. He's now into P6. How unlikely one of the red line drivers, and it had to be Frank Schotthorst, not Hooter or anybody else, is having a good race so far.
He is. He's kept that car clean all day long. He actually came towards pit road very early. He's definitely, in my opinion, on the two-stopper. Just ahead, Josh Rogers, Yao Vaz side by side. Turn number 1, Rogers up into P number 4. And that's really interesting right now, because Rogers has got a shot at a podium right now in that Burst Esports car. And I tell you why. He's only 3 laps into a stint right now. The drivers ahead of him, Antoine Hegelin, has done 11 laps. Kevin Ellis Jr. has done 11 laps. Matt Backham has done 2. This could be very, very interesting, Jake, as we might have Burst Esports getting their first podium in the World Championship Series.
Well, we know Josh Rogers is incredibly quick and very versatile when it comes to the strategy. He goes past Yao Vaz, who's on a very aggressive two-stop. Remember, Yao Vaz was the first driver to come down in and make that stop, which now puts him under pressure from a two-stopping Frank Schotthorst just behind, with Schotthorst pretty much having the better tyre life at this stage as he looks to charge through. So Rogers has the fresh rubber out of all 3 of them. He's on the one stop. He's trying to do exactly the same thing that Matt Backham's doing. The only difference, he's 10 seconds back, and that means he will be a challenge for Kevin Ellis Jr. to get past and for Antoine Hegelin to get past. But we think here that Kevin Ellis Jr.'s strategy may just be the right one.
Well, the issue is, though, Matt Backham has been closing at a rate of 1.8 seconds over the last 2 laps. Ever since his pit stop, he has been absolutely flying. Let's go on board for a lap then. Give you some RaceSpot TV fan immersion from Monza. This is the driver of Matt Backham. Another 7/10 of a second taken off that last time by, as Mitchell de Jong has come in and made his second pit stop, so he's now on the freshest tyres on this field. Let's try and work out some of the strategy then for you, but we'll do that in a second. Because first we're going to show you the people who's moved up and down in your field here today, and it has been a topsy-turvy one. Look at that. Ellis Jr. up 7 places, back him up 4, Antoine Hegelin up 6, Rogers up 9, up 19 for Frank Shawhorse, 10 for Yao Vaz, Stephen Michaels up 18 positions here today. It is worth noting that some of these drivers, though, are on what we think are 2-stop strategies. Of those, you could put Kevin Ellis Jr., Antoine Hegelin, Frank Shawhorse, Yao Vaz, Stephen Michaels, and Ricardo Orozco maybe on that list, Jake.
Yeah, maybe you certainly can, and I think that we're heading towards that window. We're heading closer and closer to 20 laps to go. It depends about how much of the tyres you want to use in that final stint, how much of an advantage do you feel you're going to have against the one-stoppers. Ellis Jr., for example, at the front of this field, he's just going quicker and quicker and quicker over the last couple of laps or so. He's bringing that back to a 24.9. He's only 0.6 of a second slower, mind you, Will, than his fastest lap of the day so far. So he is really putting the bit between his teeth. The issue he's got, though, Matt Backham on much fresher tyres, able to go 0.6 of a second faster. But I have to say, Kevin Ellis Jr. is giving it absolutely everything.
Oh, yes, he is indeed. Let's check in with our social media expert, Connery Maddock. And Connery, I feel bad for you today because you've always had it rough with the amount of action in the season. But I think this is just taking it to another level.
Yeah, it has been a very, very topsy-turvy race. Even in qualifying with Apex Racing UK getting that front row lockout, then you had Mitchell de Jong missing the first chicane, getting that huge slowdown penalty. You've had so many incidents that have just changed the face of this race that it's just a good analog for what the whole entire season has been like so far, let alone just this race.
Yeah, Marcus Jensen, by the way, up into P number 10 as he's been able to pass Daniel Arndt Wenzing. So Burst Esports currently in that 10th place and 4th place on track here today. Just having a look through gaps in the field. Stephen Michaels, Tommy Erskine, that one's going on. This is for P8 on track. And Stephen Michaels, I believe, has been passed by Tommy Erskine. I did also note earlier on here today, Connery, that there's been a lot of people that's been commenting about that Martin Cronquet. I think that's one of the biggest reactions we've had all year long, as Antoine Hegelin's on pit road for a second time, so he is doing a 2-stopper.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. That incident with Cronquet just goes to show that, once again, he is human. He can make mistakes, even though he completely aced the season last year. Definitely a different sort of scene now for this season, with so many drivers having shots at a race win. It's not going to be Coanda. Oh, well, it might be Coanda dominance, but it's not going to be Cronquet dominance like last season. Yeah,
Antoine Hegelin out in P number 14, right behind Jamie Fluke, once again on track. Of course, Fluke has made that second pit stop, and that actually shows what fresh rubber does, because Fluke had dropped back about 2.5 seconds in that one lap alone, Jake, and now he's about 0.4 of a second ahead on track.
Yes, but for Jamie Fluke, he knows that Antoine Hegelin is the faster driver as he heads through the Variante della Roggia, the second chicane out on circuit. So that may just be, I have to release Antoine Hegelin. He is quicker and he will push a lot harder. So that's the worry that's going to be in the minds of Apex drivers. They want the best result possible. So how do you do that? You get the faster drivers in front as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Tommy Erskine, Yao Vaz going at it right now on board. No, we're not going to go. Yes, we are going to go on board with Erskine as he works himself then through, side by side, through the curb of Parabolica. One of the coolest overtaking opportunities in all of racing. And well, Yao Vaz kind of ruins it for us, comes in for his second pit stop of the day. Now all eyes have to be on Kevin Ellis Jr. Does he dare try and go to the end? I don't think he can, Johnny. I think he has to come in. He has to basically then allow Backham to have to push as hard as he can and hopefully force Backham to overuse his tyres, because now it's on a 16-lap stint for Kevin Ellis Jr. He can still win this race, but he has to come in my opinion, get fresh rubber and charge.
So if Kevin Ellis Jr. pits in a couple of laps' time, which is where he's scheduled to stop, around lap 36, 37, he'll have 16 laps to win this race, right? And you'll have about 25 seconds to back him. So you're looking at over a second a lap to make up. It's possible. I don't think he'll do it, though. I think that... Because Mac only pitted around about 10 laps ago, didn't he? Mac pitted on lap 27. Yeah, 7 laps ago. So I'll tell you what, right now, this is... this race is starting to slip away as Kevin Ellis Jr. pits now. He has to do it now, and I just don't think that the 7 laps... Can he gain 1.2 seconds a lap on Mac Backham for the rest of this race?
It's going to be very tough, and in my opinion, it's going to come right down to the final couple of laps of this event. And while this season, all season long, Jake, has been topsy-turvy, it's been up and down. We've had crashes in the final lap. We've had passes towards the end of the motor race. We are setting ourselves up for another grandstand finish here at Monza. And what a way of kicking off the month of May in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series on our first European race. And this is going to be important because Marcus Jensen is ahead of Ellis Jr. And Jensen, of course, has got his teammate, Josh Rogers, who is ahead on track, who basically, they want to help Rogers out at this point.
Yeah, I think they do. And now Kevin Ellis Jr., he didn't get the gap right when he came down onto the lane. He maybe should have stayed out one more lap, maybe had himself that clear space to go and really attack this one over the De La Roggia chicanes, the anti-cut curves, really aggressively right now. His next opportunity to overtake will be into Ascari. We know what happened the last time into Ascari when Apex drivers tried to go side by side. It didn't work out in their favor. So now with DRS in tow, Jensen moves across though. Teammates, no hard feelings, he said when he left the team, and he lets him go. That's very gracious of Marcus Jensen and actually good sportsmanship.
Yeah, for Jensen, I would actually say though, John, he could have been a bit more challenging, knowing the fact that Rogers right now is looking for a podium finish. And of course, every time they allow someone through, that might end up hurting Rogers at the end of this one, because before Ellis Jr. can even get to Backham, he's going to have to fight it out with Rogers, and this will be a fantastic battle. I'm also having a look, by the way. Rogers is losing time to Matt Backham overall right now. The gap is 12.2 seconds, so I think we can discount Rogers from winning this motor race as it stands, because he's losing himself about a third of a second a lap.
Yeah, exactly. This race, I don't know how this is going to end. The thing I love about races like this is you've had, I mean, if I go down the order, here are your possible race winners or could have won this race, should have won this race. Martin Kroenke, Gregor Hutu, Peter Berryman. You look at the likes of Mitchell de Jong as well, should have won this race. Jamie Fluke, Peter Berryman, wherever he is at the moment, he's out of the race still as well. I think I already mentioned him. And now you've got other drivers who have taken advantage and stayed out of trouble. Mac Backham, Josh Rogers, like you mentioned, Georges Erskard, who are still in a bit of a scrap here for P3. Kevin Ellis Jr., the most important thing coming out of this lap, though, is we'll have to compare his lap time at the end of 36 in comparison to Mac Backham. Mac just lapped a 24.9, so we'll have a look at Kevin Ellis Jr. as well.
Yeah, we'll do that in just 1 second, because here, Jamie Fluke, David Accor. Right, Jamie Fluke gets himself ahead of David Accor, then up into P number 10. Fluke continues to charge as well. You can get social with us. Use /RaceBot TV at RaceBot TV if you want to contact us on Twitter. Kevin Ellis Jr., that last time by, let's have a look at his lap time. It is a 1:23.764, 1.2 seconds faster than Mac Backham there, Jake.
I think it needs to be 1.5 though, Will. 1.2 I still don't think is quite enough. It's 24.5 seconds. We're on lap 37 of 53, so that's about 17 laps left to go. 17 laps, 24.5 seconds. I think you need to push a second and a half, maybe 1.4 to make things happen. Ellis Jr.'s got to find 2/10, and I will tell you something about that. That was his fastest lap of the day so far. Ellis Jr. knows he's got to race this way to win this event, but not only has he got to do that, he's got to hope that Georges and also Erstgaard he's got to get through as well, and those two are battling out because Erstgaard's just made himself up into P3.
Yeah, he has. As well, he's currently Erskine about 8.3 seconds behind Rogers. As we have a look on board with the driver of Matt Backham, who is, of course, the leader in this event right now. Across the start-finish time, what's he do that time by? 1:24.824. So it's not a great sequence of laps right now for Backham. And I think Backham's also got to remember, he's had unforced errors this season, Johnny. And that is going to be at the back of his mind, because he just doesn't want to throw away a victory that could cost Coanda the streak.
He doesn't, you're right. And the biggest lesson I learned talking with a lot of teammates in the past, that if you're nervous and you're in the car thinking, I can't stuff this up, what are all the rest of the drivers on the grid thinking too? Are they as nervous as you? Maybe they're even more nervous. And so when someone told me that, I realized that, okay, I'm no longer nervous anymore, because you don't know what's going through the mind of other drivers. So you've got this race in your hands. Don't stuff it up. Just do your job, and you should end up with the victory. Right now, Mac Backham, one hand on the trophy. He has to drive at home and win this race. And if you're in Peter Berryman's position, Will, I've been in this position before, you think, okay, he's coming into this round, 5th into the championship. He's having a good season so far. 6th into the championship, excuse me, behind Peter Berryman. You just go for it. You go for the victory. This is as greater than finishing P5 and being consistent for the championship. This will make a name for yourself. Right now, you need to push every single lap and try not to bin it.
Yeah, he's closing up very quickly to the rear of Pash Gergis. And, well, he really has to hope, in my opinion, that he has a good run through Curva Parabolica to get him into that toe. I think he needs to be about 4 tenths per second back, and he might be through on the run in towards turn number 1. He is still within 4 tenths per second on the exit of Curva Parabolica, down to 3 tenths per second. He needs to make this pass in towards turn number 1, and he does. Ellis Jr. up into 4th place, and that one was well needed, Jake.
Very well needed. Now next up is the Norwegian Tommy Ørsgaard for Kevin Ellis Jr. So 23.8 that last time by, aided with the assistance of DRS, and now through Curva Grande he looks to push. He's a second a lap quicker than Tommy Ørsgaard. That's going to be crucial. After that, it's an 8-second wait down the road to Josh Rogers. So that's the sort of level that we're looking at pushing wise, and then traffic comes into play. For someone like Mac Backham, it is now no mistakes time. It's just drive, almost time trial the rest of this event. You know he's going to chase you down. You just got to stay as consistent as possible, and you will see just in the relatives, in the timings, that gap will come down more and more, and psychologically Mac Backham will have a little bit more tension behind that wheel.
Yeah, Antoine Hegelin down at the inside of Michael Partington. They actually caught quite a bit of the curb down at the Variante della Roccia, but is able to get 8th position then here today. Your top 8 as it stands. Here we are then. Matt Backham leading by 12.2 seconds over Josh Rogers. So is currently Koalison Sports leading from Burst Esports, with another Koalison driver, Tommy Ørsgaard, running in 3rd. Then you got yourself Apex Racing UK, Kevin Ellis Jr. on that 2-stop strategy, charging back through the field. He is in 4th. Pash Gergis for Core Sim Racing running in 5th. Then it's Radicals Online in P number 6. Marcus Jensen and Burst Esports in 7th place, and Antoine Hegelin in P number 8. Live timing and scoring remains available throughout the rest of this race. The last 13 and a bit laps to go of what has been a chaotic round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Monza always is. We've had a crash at the start. We've had driver of Martin Kroenke having a solo car accident in the first 10 laps of this event. We've had some technical difficulties for 3 Finnish drivers. That was Gregor Huti, Martin Pietà, and Ilkka Haapala. We've had drivers on different strategies. We've had drivers really pushing it to the extreme. And here's Ellis Jr. actually. He's closed down already to within half a second of Tommy Ørsgaard. Same situation again now, Johnny. He's got to get it done before turn number 1.
Yeah, exactly. And he's might be a little bit too close to the Parabolica, but don't push into the Parabolica, as we said. He's got the tire, he's got the grip. Ease it through this corner. Look for the exit. He's a bit too close on the inside here. It's very easy to lose grip there. And he's already passed Tommy Ørsgaard. And he's also going to have DRS. He crosses the zone. There we go. There's the bollard. Flicks on DRS. He's going to scream away. Ørsgaard tries to go for the draft, but smartly so. Kevin Ellis Jr. breaks the toe. Right now, Josh Rogers is on for a career best result. Kevin Ellis Jr. 2, Ørsgaard, Jurgis, Wensing, all on for career best results from P2 to P6.
Yeah, but we do have to say, with 13 laps to go, the gap is still 19.5 seconds on track. And that is going to be a miracle drive for Apex Racing UK to get their first win in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. By the way, if you like Monza and you like race cars, visit racewell.tv/shop, where you can get yourself your very own Monza race car t-shirt Of course, it was right here at this track here, the Gathering of Tweakers Endurance Series, when we coined that phrase just a couple of years ago. Marcus Jensen versus Daniel Arndt Wensing. Battle for P6 on track. Burst Esport, they're having a mediocre day, Jake. It's turned around into a fantastic day for Burst Esports.
Well, we said they both started on row 7, and this is the race which can make or break drivers, and I think that this is making Burst Esport a team that can really kick it at the highest level. Wensing still with enough of a gap at this stage to probably stave off the challenge. It was 0.6 of a second when they last crossed the line. In fact, Wensing has made his way through already in this stint on Marcus Jensen, so that gap I expect to stay around 0.6. It was like 25.3 that last time from Marcus Jensen, 25.1 from Daniel Arndt Wensing.
Yes, just having a look down through the rest of the field. Greg Shawhorse, we talked about him earlier on. Of course, he's another driver on this two-stop strategy, Johnny. He is 40 seconds behind your overall race leader. But this is a driver who started P number 24, trying to get himself back into the top 10 right now. He's about 7 tenths of a second behind David Williams. He can just about do it, but it would require, I think, Partington to fall down behind Fluke and then fall back down further, because I don't think that Fluke himself is going to lose P10.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, actually, Frank Schottos is the second quickest driver out on the racetrack behind Kevin Ellis Jr. So right now, he's got a lot of drivers to pick off, and he's got a great chance at it. He's got David Williams up ahead, as you mentioned. He's just got to get a good run out of here. Lesmo too. There's a small dip on the apex of that corner, and he gets extremely wobbly there through the exit. Flicks on DRS though through here. Don't make the move into Ascari. It's going to be ultra tight. And as we also know, De Jong and David Corpse as well, right behind, are in a bit of a scrap here too.
Yeah, and Mitchell De Jong, of course, after falling down, after overshooting the chicane, he went from hero to zero on lap number 1 of this event. But here is Mitchell De Jong then versus David Decor. The two's raced each other so many times. De Jong holding that outside line into Curva Parabolica. He's going to easily compete the pass then. De Jong up into 13th place on track, and ahead Shawhorse Williams are going at it, Jamie Fluke and Partington are going at it. Fluke up into P number 9, and then let's have a look. Here's Frick Shawhorse inside line, and he's going to get himself past David Williams into the first chicane. So lots of passing still happening here, Jake. Partington now down into P number 10. Shawhorse is going to want that 10th position before too long.
Well, we know that Frank Schotos wants to make moves, and he's on a strategy which will enable him to do so. So Michael Partington under pressure and will just fall backwards and backwards and backwards. But I want to talk about Mitchell De Jong, because right now, this is the lifeline of his season at the moment. Kroenke's out. Gregor Hutu is out. Yes, Matt Backham's winning, but you have to remember, Mitchell De Jong is got himself that 6-point lead in the championship. I think that still gains from P13. I think he still holds the lead of the championship coming out of this one, but he wants David Williams, which I think will be the easy one. If he can get to Partington as well by the end of the event, I'm not sure that he can. That is going to be another crucial position, another vital couple of points here for the championship.
Yeah, Marcus Jensen, Burst Esports then versus at number 4, Radicals Online Machine, as just heading themselves into corner, the corner I was talking about? Sorry, just had a timing scoring glitch there as well, but Marcus Jensen actually versus Daniel Wensing going on. Antoine Hegelin is there in that battle as well. Actually, I'm taking this all back. Just having a look through the field. Yeah, he is through. So Wensing is through, and he is up into P. Jensen's through. He is up into P number 6. Wensing down into P number 7 on track right now, Johnny.
Yep, so as we say that, we're looking at him on screen, piling up the gravel into the air right now. You can see the Radicals driver of Wensing. He's under pressure here from Anton Hegelin, the young man. Adalesmo 2 pushes a little bit too wide there. The dirty air will do that to you. He's very, very close. They both have DRS, but I think the inside line might work here. I think pulling out of the draft a little bit too early didn't, and now it means Wensing's going to go straight through into Ascari. Pushes a little bit deep, though, so this battle is going to continue on the exit. Hegelin, ideal line through that whole sequence of corners. The inside line will work at the Parabolica. Just send it deep here, and you should get the move done.
Yes, that is exactly what Antoine Hegelin is going to do. He moves himself up into P7. here in the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Keeping an eye out, by the way, on Short Horse and Partington, and it is 2.8 seconds a gap between them. But look at how quickly, Jake, Short Horse is closing up to the rear of Partington.
Yeah, and well, that gap closing and closing. Partington 25.5, 24.3, 1.2 seconds then. Frake is on a storm, and he needs to salvage any respect from this event for Team Redline, an event that we knew that they would struggle at today, Will, but not quite to the level and the extent that we thought it was going to be. Shothal started 24th on the grid. That was a poor qualifying from Frake's standards. Last year, he didn't even make it to the first corner. This year, he's only fighting it out for a top 10. Is this the Frake Shothal that was second in World's Fastest Gamer? I don't think so.
No, I think he's still struggling a little bit right now. But what we have got here, by the way, is Antoine Hegelin versus Marcus Jensen. I'm going to focus on that for 1 second. Apex Racing UK, Antoine Hegelin heading himself through the Ascari chicane right on the rear wing of Marcus Jensen, but loses a little bit there through the dirty air effect. Yeah, Frank Shorthorse, P number 11. He's not had a great season. He's actually not had a great time in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, but there's still, I think, a lot that he can do. I think there might need to be a bit more support for him in this series on the number 21 car. But here comes Antoine Hegelin, and he will go to the outside of Marcus Jensen, running towards turn number 1. Easily said, easily done. Apex Racing UK up into the 6th place now on track. So, well, Apex are doing a good job of salvaging what was almost a disaster for them, Johnny.
Yeah, Hegel in there bear hugging Jensen on the main straight, up close and personal with him, and he gets the move done. So Apex here, great result from them. Well, if they actually do finish this race, and it could have been even better, potentially a race win for the team. Who knows how this could have ended up. But remember, Will, when we were playing Hangman at the start of, RaceSpot TV, a little preview we were doing behind the scenes, you did say Coanda will win, and I did guess the word right. So
yeah.
It looks like at the moment you may be correct on that Hangman puzzle.
Yeah, but don't forget, it was within the first 10 laps of the event that Martin Cronkite binned it from, well, having a fantastic race. And then now you've got a situation where you've got a Coanda driver leading the race, and he's got so much pressure on him. This is Ellis Jr., by the way, versus Josh Rogers. He will not get him into turn number 1. That last time by, he gained 1.1 seconds over Josh Rogers, but he did only gain 1.1 also over Mac Backham. Ellis Jr. now needs to be aggressive, and he cannot get caught up in this dirty air for too long. We're going to go on board of him for a few moments, give you some RaceSpot TV fan immersion battle for P number 2. Got it. Up into second place then. Easy for Kevin Ellis Jr. But let's not forget here, Johnny, this is still a Burst Esports team who's going to get their first podium in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And it was only a couple of years ago we were talking about Apex Racing UK and them battling for podiums. And now let's have a look at how almost dominant they've been here today. Burst Esports doing a very similar thing.
I've heard some very exciting prospective things about the Burst Esports teams. As Rogers there, I think he just went off screen. Is he okay? He's fine, actually. He's just made a bit of an error at the end of that first chicane, the Rettifilio. But the Burst Esports team still establishing themselves as a force to be reckoned with in esports. And I think right now to have, Rogers and Jensen doing this well, and to keep quiet at this point in time, you're really attracting some good news for the team in the future. You know, nothing wrong is happening. You've got a few tricks up your sleeve, look out for this team in the next couple of, well, maybe 12 months or a couple of years.
Yeah, also, just got to let you know that De Jong has got up to the rear of David Williams. You might well see David Williams just allow De Jong pass in terms of helping consolidate, not against Kroenke, but against Hutu in terms of championship points here today. Back to your battle out front, though. It is 12.6 seconds. We did show you the gaps that last time buying. Well, Jay, he has been so much faster, Kevin Ellis Jr. than Bakum, but not fast enough over the last 5 laps or so.
Well, a second a lap is what we've been looking at, 1.2, 1.3 seconds. That's not enough for Kevin Ellis Jr. He wants to hope that this race was an hour and a half long, not the hour and 15 that you see with the massive high speeds at Monza. And I think that it's very, very telling that Kevin Ellis Jr. has given it everything. I'm going to look very silly by thinking that he was on the right strategy, but it turns out he wasn't. And you look at Kevin Ellis Jr., take nothing away from him. He has driven a fantastic race, but Matt Bakum has just driven that one stage a little bit better. But once again, look to Mitchell de Jong, because here comes the move that puts him to position 11, that puts him with a few more championship points in the bank to try and bring that gap down on the championship battle, which I think leaves Matt Bakum championship leader heading out of round 5.
Yeah, don't forget, you can now vote for your driver of the day. Tweet us at RaceBotTV. Use the hashtag iRacingWCS. Let us know who your driver of the day is today. And I'll tell you one thing, there are a number of candidates up and down the field for that one. Just having a look down, Antoine Hegel and Pash Gergis, they're going at P number 5 for Pash Gergis here today so far. I mean, this has been a fantastic result by him. He is on older tyres right now compared to Antoine Hegel, and he is losing quite a bit of time. But Gergis, even if he does finish in P number 6, great result by him.
Yep, loved it. And I hope for him all the best for the future. Who knows if he'll still remain in core, for the next couple of seasons. But I think seeing him in that orange and white, is orange and white, orange and silver, whatever it is, orange and black even, it really does fit him well, as right now he's still under attack from Anton Hegel, and Anton Hegel is actually going to make his way past. So we talk about a top 5 at Georges, and it's slipped away at the moment. He has to fight back here at the exit. Hegelen doesn't have the best of exits. It's so difficult to gain traction out of that first couple of corners there. The tires just, it needs to be set up quite well. Georges here, though, breaks under the bridge. Will take this corner quite seamlessly, and can't make his way past. But for Pash, as we said, passionate dude, and I hope all the best for him over the next season.
Michael Partington has lost a position recently to Stephen Michaels in the Positive Sim Racing number 50 machine. Down to about 3.5 laps to go now in this event. In fact, less than 3.5 laps to go, because here is Matt Bakum as he now comes to see 3 laps to go, as he's got a gap of 11.4 seconds. And while Bakum, I mean, we've basically done everything today, Jake, except for give Bakum credit, because he deserves a ton of credit today. He's had an absolutely flawless race.
It has been flawless, and Matt Bakum has kept a cool head when everybody around him decided that they wanted to lose everything. And Matt Bakum has driven arguably the most adult drive of his career. Not to take anything away from Matt Bakum's other drives, but this drive in comparison to his drive against Gregor Hutu at Montreal, I think this is a better achievement, because he's had to go and be the rock of Coanda when the rock crumbled, the ship had a hole in the hull, and everything looked like it was about to capsize. It was a great drive, or it is a great drive by Matt Bakum, and if he holds on for just 2 and a bit more laps, then Matt Bakum deserves his place as one of the greatest sim racers in the world at the moment.
Ricardo Orozco versus David Decor. That's just been a swap for position. Orozco up into P number 16. Decor down into P number 17. Retirees, those of you who are joining us right at the end, please go back and watch on demand on YouTube Gaming. Yuta Saito, Balas Remniak, Peter Berryman, Gregor Hutu, Martin Piatella, Martin Kroenke, Diego Oliveira, and Alexei Usiakola. We'll talk about the reasons behind some of those retirees on our post-race coverage, which will come up immediately after this event here, as Fluke versus Daniel Arndt Wensing. This one could still change in the next 2 laps here, Johnny.
Yeah, so it's going to get tight, as we said. And you just have to monitor these gaps towards the end here. Drivers tend to fall asleep. Some drivers get a bit of adrenaline pumping in these final laps. But as we said, it all counts. These are extra championship points. And with the new point system this season, it becomes an extra incentive for drivers to fight for these extra points towards the end.
Yeah, but here comes Mac Backham. He's got a lap and a half now left to go in this event. And I will say, we've had crazy races for the first 4 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series events in 2018. And what a change is it from the time when Martin Kroenke won every single round of the championship. It was here at Monza when it looked as though that Martin Kroenke was under a lot of pressure from Mitchell de Jong. But it was actually, ironically, Mitchell de Jong that set into effect a complete chain of events today when he overshot that first corner down at turn number 1, lap number 1 of the race. He just overshot, went onto the escape road. It bunched up a lot of the field. It was a sign of many things to come. But one thing that we hadn't really talked about for a lot of this is that Mac Backham has had an almost flawless drive here today as we enter the final lap then here at Monza. And your top 3 as it stands right now, Backham leading by 10.2 seconds over Kevin Ellis Jr. and Josh Rogers in 3rd. I'll tell you one thing, I don't think there's anyone who would have predicted that to be your podium, not even at the end of qualifying, at the start of this event, even 5 laps into this event. But Matt Backham, he has driven an adult and mature drive. He's had, of course, 1 win this year in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. He will join Martin Kroenke in just a few turns' time as a driver having 2 wins in the series here today. We're going to have ourselves a look at Frank Shawhorse. He just made a pass. We'll do that after the checkered flag has flown. But here comes Matt Backham then into the Variante Ascari for the final time. Don't bin it now here, Max, as he will now come down. 1 corner left to go. Curva Parabolica, and the month of May is always a crazy month worth of racing, and it's proven it here today in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Out the final corner for the final time, Mac Backham is a 2-time winner in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and he will take the lead of the championship as a consequence. Kevin Ellis Jr., well, it was Apex potentially winning here today at one point. Their cars got involved in the wars. Ellis Jr. steps up and claims a much-needed podium for Apex Racing UK. And Josh Rogers scores Burst Esports' first podium in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Let's go back a little bit and try and show you what happened with Frank Shawhorse a moment ago, if possible. It was down into turn number 1, I believe, so we'll try and get a look at that one as quickly as possible. We'll also show you your final race results in just 1 moment's time. But what a race we have had here today, Johnny, from this track that we love and call Monza.
This season has been incredible as a whole, and we still have plenty of rounds to go. We look at Frank Shawhorse now on screen. This is a thrilling pass here on the final lap of the race. How close does he get to Jamie Fluke here? And I think right now Frank Shawhorse ended up passing 2 cars on this final lap, so both Fluke and the driver ahead of, it looks like Daniel Laurent Wensing. So here we go here into turn 1. Brilliant move there. And then the driver goes off of Wensing, so that will be a slowdown for Daniel Laurent. And there is Frank Shawhorse going straight past. Cones killed once again by Daniel Wensing. But to wrap up on what you said, Will, this has been such a thrilling season so far. It's been topsy-turvy. There's been incidents, great racing, everything packed into one. We couldn't have hoped for a better season. I think these tires have also made it extra interesting.
Yeah, let's give you your final race results then from Monza. Mac Backham scores victory and continues the Coanda streak, but it was not without a huge fight from Apex Racing UK today. Kevin Ellis Jr. comes home 2nd place on a 2-stop strategy by 11.1 seconds behind, and Joshua Rogers rounds out your podium for Burst Esports. Tommy Erskard, one of his best finishes in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, 4th place for him today. Same can be said for Pas Gergis, 5th place and number 41, Core Sim Racing Machine. Marcus Jensen, P number 6. Frank Shawhorse gains 2 places on the last lap of the motor race and move himself up into P7. Jamie Fluke had a shot at winning this event here today, but was involved in an incident with his teammate and David Williams. Fluke comes home, P number 8 as a consequence. Daniel Wensing then, P number 9. We saw him losing those 2 spots on the final lap of the event. And Mitchell de Jong, after overshooting the first corner, having to come in towards pit road early and adapting to a 2-stop strategy, he comes home in P number 10. Outside your top 10, David Williams involved in that crash down at the Variante Ascari, but he was able to carry on going. He comes home in 11th. Yavaz, good result by him, 12th place for the Orion race team, with Stephen Michaels in the University Isabella 1 Positive Sim Racing Machine in 13th place. Michael Partington, he's been in battles all day long. He comes home 14th, with the other Positive Sim Racing Machine, Ricardo Orozco, in P number 15. 2 Orion race team cars, 2 Radicals cars, and an Apex Racing UK machine round out your top 20 here today. And we cycle on back, you'll notice that it's more of the same. Radicals Online, first driver 1 lap down, Paul Ilbrink, Ilka Hapala 3 laps down, and there are your retirees. It's a big retiree list here today. Yuta Saito from Radicals Online, Balis Remniak from Vortex Sim Racing, Peter Berryman when he was in a battle for what would have been the race lead, involved in a crash with David Williams down at the Ascari chicane. He has to retire his car and he's out. Gregor Hutu, Martin Piatella both had technical difficulties at the same time. P26 and 27. Diego Oliveira, 28th. Martin Cronke crashed all by himself. 29th place for him. And then Alexei Usiakola, the first driver out, the last driver on the time and scoring sheets. He comes home in P number 30. We're going to step aside for a few moments, post-race coverage after this.
Here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerick at the line.
What a race we have just had from Monza, the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Got one more thing we want to show you before we really kick off our post-race coverage. We're having a look right now on board of Antoine Hegler. This is him on the exit of the Scari chicane. He gets very loose actually on the exit of the Scari, but that's actually not what we want to focus on. He ends up on the final corner. Let's listen in. I'm not even sure we got the right thing there, so we're just going to come back to something in a moment's time. But let's actually talk about this race for a moment. And let's, like, you know, what a start to this season we have had, Jake. I mean, yes, Coanda's won every single race, but it's not been a simple case of Coanda winning every single race. There's been so much fun racing, so much drama, so much controversy here this season. And it's turning out to be one of those landmark seasons in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. As many people have always mentioned 2011, this, I think, is going to be up there with 2011 in terms of its intensity.
Oh, this has been absolutely crazy of a race. Nobody could predict that not just Martin Kroenke goes out to the event, which nobody will ever predict, but Martin Kroenke and Gregor Hootu out to the event at the same time, and Mitchell de Jong has issues. You can't write that. You just can't. Then you talk about Peter Berryman running into issues. Then you talk about Jamie Fluke running into issues. And if you look right now on the screen, through Ascari, and I believe it will be on this time through, Will, that we'll see what happened to Higeland going from 15th, no, sorry, not 15th, from 5th to 18th. So I get a little bit mixed up, but watch the gears as he heads through Parabolica.
Yeah, and what Jake was also, I don't know, Jake noticed him going to 7th gear as well. So I feel like he did run out of fuel for sure on the run down to the Parabolica. And then he tried to flick on neutral to sort of roll across the finish line, and he would have made it in a good position. He had enough speed, but the issue was he may have hit something like sometimes you have your H shifter. If you have one of those, you have that map to iRacing, and then you hit 7th gear or something by accident. I don't know what he's done there, but the car's engaged 7th gear, and I feel like that's what's made things spun. Now, I might have to look at the replay again, but it could have been a little bit better managed there, but it's not really something Anton Higeland decides to practice every single day, but it may be something he wants to look into just in case for the future. But a lot of drivers struggled with fuel this round, Will. Mac Backham, on the lap, the parade lap back to the garage, actually ran out of fuel on the back straight too.
Well, I think that Mitch de Jong wanted to be on that escape road, wanted to work out, okay, what's going to be the quickest way for me to really save my race, because I've gone off on lap 1. It's when the slowdown penalties are the most aggressive, apart from maybe lap 2. So he's got to try and slow that vehicle down and make sure that he gets himself, you know, in within that limit. I think he went to try and slow it down. He got to a certain point, decided to speed up again, and then realised, oh wait, I still haven't quite served it enough. Too late, there's your penalty. Go in, serve your penalty, come back out again. I think that Mitchell de Jong made a fatal error today. And it's not often that we see Mitchell de Jong make those mistakes, but it's the way that he's recovered and has got a top 10 finish out of this, which nobody thought when he was dead last in the field, 50 seconds back. Let's not forget, Will, he's finished 40 seconds off of the race leader. He's gained 10 seconds in this race. He's done a great job to get back into the top 10, keep his championship alive, and put himself there.
Right, let's have another look then. Sorry about that mic issue with Peter Berryman. This is his start. And you can see he just completely bogged down at the start of this one, trying to bring that car from pole position, Peter Berryman. And he loses 2 places as a consequence of that. And then coming down in towards that first corner. Luckily, he was able to keep in 3rd place only. And of course, he'd get 2nd place back immediately as a consequence of that one. But let's run through then your top 10 one more time here from Monza. Mac Backham wins by 11.1 seconds over Kevin Ellis Jr. Josh Rogers 3rd, Tommy Erskard 4th, Bas Gerges in 5th. Marcus Jensen, Frank Shawhorse, Jamie Fluke, Daniel Wensing, and Mitchell de Jong. They are your top 10. And we're going to have a chat then with your winner from this race. That is the driver of Mac Backham, his 2nd victory now in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Mac, congratulations. It's been a crazy one.
Yeah, thank you. It was, well, after initial pit stop, I think it was rather straightforward for me. But, yeah, I just tried to get things together and not make any mistakes.
Okay, let's start with the start. Let's start with qualifying because it all bunched up down in towards turn number 1. Of course, your teammate de Jong, after getting the race lead for about 200 meters, he ended up going off, and then pandemonium started off there. Of course, your teammate, Martin Kroenke, solo car incident, and all of a sudden it seemed like the weight of the Coanda machine was all on your shoulders.
Yeah, I'm still. I haven't really rewatched the first few laps, but so many things happened, so I kind of don't remember most of it because it's so much. So I'll have to relook at it later. But yeah, I think Mitchell had some issues, and then behind me was such a huge gap already, so it was just me and the people in front. I knew after the first pit stops, Apex went for a 2-stop, and we were really on the bubble. We weren't really sure if we were going to do a 1 or a 2-stop. So when they went for the 2-stop, we just kind of went for the 1-stop and see how it would work out, and then. I think shortly after Jamie pitted, I think Peter retired, and then Jamie got front wing damage. So as soon as I heard that on the radio, I just backed off because I knew with the time lost in pits for Jamie that he wouldn't be able to catch me anymore. And that kind of came in handy because in the final stint, I think I saved fuel for like 20 laps, and I only just about crossed the line with enough left. So should definitely take some more fuel next round.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy 5 rounds of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. You've got 2 victories and now the championship lead. Momentum's always a big thing in this series, and over the years I've commentated it, I've always said whoever gets momentum around this time of the season often goes on to has a good or great World Championship. What are you now thinking as you leave here and thinking about the next round of the championship? Let's not forget, which is a few weeks away from now, as we build up to other events going on, of course, Indy 500 and everything else, of course, on iRacing.
Yeah, I'm just taking it race by race, really. I'm not really too worried about the championship. It's not really, I wouldn't say it's not a goal of mine, but I don't know how realistic that is. I mean, I think there's still definitely Martin and Gregor and Mitchell. Generally, over the weekend, they just have a little bit on me, especially in qualifying. So unless that gets sorted, I don't think, without any luck, like today, for example, I will be in the conversation right up until the end. So, but we'll see.
And Watkins Glen historically has always been another track where races can be ended at turn number 1 in a heartbeat. And also it's a track where over the years it's had a lot of controversy as well. You heading into Watkins Glen, I think that's your first time racing at Watkins Glen in the World Championship Series.
Yeah, I didn't know that was the next track. Yeah, I really don't like Watkins Glen, so I don't know. I guess maybe this car is good there. I've never really driven much there, but I just generally really hate the track. So I hope I'll be able to do at least a decent race then.
Well, for the time being, you are the winner here today in round number 5 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Before we let you go, VRS Coanda Sim Sports, who do you want to give shout-outs to?
Yeah, just want to thank our partners and sponsors first. So Virtual Racing School, Huizenveld Engineering, SimCrib JRT, VTech, and you guys, of course, for the broadcast, and of course, my teammates and my spotters for helping us prepare for the races. Yeah, it was really good.
Well, thank you very much. Matt Backham then with the race victory here today, 11.1 seconds ahead of Kevin Ellis Jr. for Apex Racing UK. And before we talk to Kevin, Jake, it is worth noting that this is their best result in the World Championship Grand Prix Series.
It is, and it's a fantastic result as well, because that, maybe you can argue there is some fortune to it, but I consider racing to be, even if there's fortune, even if there's luck, even if anybody has a shot of winning, right? You have that ability to go out there, race to the best of your ability, and nobody can now take away that second place position for Apex Racing UK and Kevin Ellis Jr. It's a fantastic result for the team, and one that should spearhead themselves forward to Watkins Glen, which I think is another circuit that suits them quite nicely.
And you have now got Kevin Ellis Jr. second place at Apex Racing UK.
I do. Kevin Ellis Jr., what a crazy race for you. Started off in 8th position, had yourself a big charge. Let's talk about where you were after all the incidents that happened. Martin Kroenke runs into issues. Gregor Hutu runs into issues. You find yourself in position 4. And ultimately, it just seemed that the race evolved around you.
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, I'm a bit all over the place at the moment, sorry. But yeah, that first stint was just I had a bit of clean air after Gregor dropped out, and just kind of try to focus on getting to the first pit stop. And we were hoping everyone would 2-stop in this again, another race where we've gone the opposite of everyone else on the strategies. So yeah, I was a bit concerned after that first stop. But yeah, the first stint, just everything just sort of fell my way. And yeah, I don't know what happened. I always seem to be able to dodge issues that go on. And yeah, I'm just all over the place right now. I can't even remember the first stint, to be honest with you.
Well, because you don't remember the first stint, I'm going to go talk about the last stint then for you, because you had to go make positions at the end. You had to get past the likes of Jurgis, Erskard, Josh Rogers in the mix as well. How difficult is it to go and overtake late, having to use your ability, knowing that you don't have anything really in reserve? You have to go out there and leave everything on the track.
Yeah, it can definitely be a challenge, but a lot of things, you know, me being on the 2-stop, I had a lot fresher tyres, so I knew I'd have that to my advantage. But all day today with the cooler weather, I was struggling with the ERS after about lap 5. I was about 40% left, and I could never get that back to above 50, so I couldn't really push my ERS too hard. So I had to kind of, when I was catching Josh, my spotter Dave, he said, you know, we're catching him at a good enough rate right now. Just try and keep on what you're doing. I just try to keep the tyres under me because I knew I'd maybe need to fight him. I didn't think he'd fight me too hard just because we were on alternate strategies and there was quite a long way to go when I caught him, but I was just trying to get my ERS back just in case he did decide to put a charge. But yeah, just when you've got fresh tyres like that and you're catching someone, it's a really great feeling. I think Mitchell said something similar to this at Phillip Ellen, so I don't want to copy him, but yeah, it's a great feeling when you're on fresher tyres and someone you're closing in. And yeah, after I got by him, it was just a case of bringing it home, managing the fuel. I was a little bit short on fuel there, so just managed a little bit near the end there. But yeah, the car was just unbelievable today, really good.
And you put yourself now on the fringes of the championship picture, P5 in the championship, just 108 points off of the championship lead. You're just outside of that one race sort of margin, and we've seen just how crazy the racing has been. But Apex Racing UK, seeing so many drivers, and there are 4 of them in and around that top 10, do you feel that the team as a collective is where the strength of Apex lies more rather than any one individual talent?
I'd say so, yeah. We're all very close on pace, so typically when we're on track we're all quite close to each other, so that kind of falls into our hands quite a bit. In some races, you know, we can use each other as to kind of hold people up and, you know, do strategies with teammates and stuff like that. And I was considering on the first stint, there's one of the only things I can remember from the first stint is thinking about trying to do like an alternate strategy, like pitting dead early, just to try and get that undercut on Mac and possibly hold him up and stuff for when Pete and Jamie came back up. And yeah, we definitely need to use our numbers, and we have been doing that this year. We're a very strong unit, we're all very close now, and we're really bouncing it off each other very well. Pete and Jamie I need to give them a quick shout out. They did a fantastic job all the last week and a half on the qualifying and in the race car. It was just utterly fantastic. Those guys, you know, for me to come second, that shows what they could have done. You know, I didn't have the pace of them today, and I think that's pretty obvious. And for me to still come second, that shows just how good those two were. So I need to give those two a massive shout out. The car was phenomenal, and it's all because of those two. Did a fantastic job.
No worries at all there. So we've seen the shout outs then to your teammates who've done a great job. Shout outs and sponsors then?
Yeah, I need to give a shout out to my crew guys who were on the wall this race. David and Wallace, they did an absolutely fantastic job. Just kept me cool, kept me my limits, you know, kept me within my limits, sorry. When I was catching Rogers there, I knew just had to kind of keep within in myself and not push too hard and risk anything. All the boys at Apex Racing UK, they've been absolutely fantastic over the last couple of weeks, as I said, and all season, to be honest. They've been so hungry to get up there and be fighting with Coanda, and today, you know, I think we really gave it a proper shot. If Pete and Jamie weren't wrecked out, they definitely would have been right up there as well. And the same can be said for Antoine. You know, the fuel on the last lap there was devastating for us. But I'm glad I managed to carry the Apex flag today. So yeah, big shout out to all of them, and also to our sponsors, JCL, Leo Bodner, Simpure, and SDK Gaming.
No worries at all. Kevin Ellis Jr. coming home in second position, one of only 3 drivers, Will, to have completed every single lap so far this season.
Nice little stat fact there. We're going to talk about Joshua Rogers in a moment, but before we do, Johnny, best result also for Burst Esport. 3rd place here today in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. And I actually have to say, I think the best result for an Aussie in this series since Luke McLean. Well, actually, no, I need to say that. I think Luke McLean's a New Zealand driver. So, best result for an Australasian driver since Luke McLean.
Yeah. Not Ben Cornett never got a podium, did he?
No, but Luke McLean did it more recently. In 2014.
Yeah, exactly. So, there you go. I'm speaking to Josh Rogers now. I can't even say his name. Josh Rogers, excuse me. Who comes home in P3. Brilliant result, Josh. I have to say, did you expect this podium? Has it come too soon or too early, too late? How do you feel you went this season?
Absolutely not, to be honest. I think obviously we were quite lucky today, but you still got to be there to make the most of it and pick up the pieces. But to be honest, after qualifying in P13, I thought it was pretty much all over from that point. It was going to be a bit of a salvage drive, but yeah, no, I look absolutely in disbelief at the moment. P3 in only my 4th round in the series. I'm absolutely stoked. So yeah, can't thank anyone enough.
I have to go back to the start now. Did you slice and dice your way in any particular order? Did you plan to say, hey, I'm going to go up the inside and that's where all the open positions are going to be? Or how did the start work out for you?
Initially, my jump wasn't very good, but the run down to turn 1 for me seemed to be quite clear. Coming to turn 1 though, I think I did see a bit of a gap on the inside, so I decided to shoot for it. Picked up a couple spots out of that, but there was a bit of a mess in turn 1 for the first couple of laps, but after that point it was just a matter of trying to keep it nice and consistent and conservative, and just pick off cars when I could. I didn't want to take too many risks, especially considering the huge tyre wear in our plan to do a one stop. Hurting the tyre too early was going to be put pretty much the nail in the coffin in terms of running that strategy, so it was important to take care of that tyre and not take too many risks too early on.
Did you stick to your target lap that you wanted to pit at, or did you think with all these DNFs up in front you could stretch the stint a little bit longer or even go shorter?
I think obviously, you know, with all that it was quite up in the air. I think what we were going to do was pretty determined on what Tommy did behind us. We were planning on pitting on lap 24. We ended up on 25. Wasn't too different. But to be honest, in the end, it wasn't. Strategy didn't really change too much. Obviously, there was a few different options, but we ended up sticking with one that we thought we were going to go with at the beginning.
And I have to say, who have you been testing with so far this season? Because we know the Burst Esport team of yourself and Marcus Jensen, 2 young drivers in the series. Who else have you been really pounding away at all these racetracks with?
So basically, we've just been having a run with Marcus, obviously, and also Pash from Awesome Racing. So yeah, I think as a whole, our little group seems to work together quite well in terms of getting the car nice and also having little test sessions here and there. It definitely helps being able to compare to such high caliber drivers too.
Ah. And who do you wish for drivers such as Kevin Ellis Jr., who's alongside you now? You can give him your pitch to actually move over to Burst Esport. He's doing quite well at the moment. I don't know if you need extra drivers on the team.
He's doing quite well. I think it'd be a little bit tough to convince Kev to come over, but
Well, fun
There
fact
you
for you, I'm working with him for the Indy 500, so we're technically teammates right now for the next week.
Whoa.
yeah,
Did
that's
someone say Indy 500?
Oh, I've said it. Uh-oh.
That's right, we'll do that in a bit.
We're not going to play the NFL on Fox music, are we? Because we'll have to.
No, because it's not the
remove
NFL and
whole
it's not on
broadcast.
Fox either.
Oh. That's it, by the way. We should wrap up the interview with Josh Rogers. Came home in third, career best result. Surely a race win to come sometime soon in the future. And the same could be said for Kevin Ellis Jr., who we also just spoke to for a couple of seconds.
Indeed. So, and yes, we will talk about it very quickly. Don't forget, next Saturday, we've got a double header here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. We've got ourselves 6 hours of Nürburgring in the VRS GT World Championship, and we also have the greatest spectacle in all of sim racing. It is the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. It will be here exclusively live on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. We'll be live on Facebook Gaming from 3 p.m. GMT for extended pre-race coverage, and then the race itself 5 p.m. GMT. Catch it all on Racesport TV and iRacing Live. And very quickly, Kevin Ellis Jr., Indy 500, Apex Racing UK. I know you've worked with the likes of Broken Arrow in the past. I know you've come very close to winning in the past, but there's no tougher challenge in my opinion, and not even racing, qualifying for the top split, especially in a crazy new year with the IR18.
Yeah, the car's been a big shake-up for us, but we've pace is looking pretty good for what we've seen. So yeah, we're working with a lot of good drivers as well. So I'm really looking forward to the 500 next week. Hopefully I'll be here talking to you with a glass of milk in my hands. But yeah, you know, we've got to take it. It's a long race. It's just got to take it one lap at a time and make sure we've got everything there. With some final prep to go on in the next week or so. So yeah, it's gonna be a busy week, but yeah, honestly can't wait. It's gonna be such a good race. Yeah,
qualifying for the iRacing Indy 500, for those of you who are an iRacing member, starts at midnight GMT on Tuesday, and you've got yourself until the same time, Friday into Saturday to qualify, and we'll have ourselves coverage as well of the last 2 qualifying sessions immediately after. And I'm gonna have to say this with a straight face here. Friday night prime time, the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series Connery at Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, we're going to go with a couple of one of the fastest types of cars on the service, on one of the shortest road tracks on the service, where they also get some airtime over the top of the hill in the middle of the lap. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, it'll be live. Let's come back then to the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Talk to the driver who came home in P number 5 today. That is Patris Gergis. And well, Pash, I believe actually that this is your highest place finish in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Fantastic outing for core sim racing here today.
Yeah, that's it. I got my first top 10 last time around at Road America, and today P5. I'm really happy with the result. I certainly didn't expect it. Coming up to this race, I felt consistent in the race, but I didn't really feel like I could do well in quali. Got a nice start. Some guys had to cut to avoid people. I got a move on Josh. Mitchell had the slowdown. I got a really nice start, and I was feeling really confident with the car. Then obviously we had some guys with a technical issue, and I saw the relative and saw myself in P6, and I was like, oh wow. We have a race here, and after that I tried to stay calm. I was on a one stop, which was really edgy in the end, so I kind of needed to be on it, otherwise it would have been gone to waste. I did the pit stop, but it really got into my head afterwards in the second stint that I could do something to screw it up, so I wasn't really myself. I was really slow. Yeah, P5. I really feel sorry about Antoine going down that way. I know he ran out of fuel. He's a good friend. I was really sad when I lost my top 5 with 3 laps to go, but it sucks to see him going down like that.
You talk about, the improvement, top 10, top 5. What's next for you? You looking? You think that maybe there might be a chance for a podium for you this season in core sim racing?
I'm just taking every race as it is. I'm trying to do my best without having many expectations. Trying to stay positive and work with the guys, and whatever happens, it's very welcome. And if there's something more in the next few races, we'll definitely take it, and I'll personally take it. So, but no pressure.
And Watkins Glen is a bit of a Marmite track for some people. Some people love it, some people hate it. Which side of the fence are you on?
I'm on the side that doesn't even own it at the moment, I think. Or I've just I have it, but I have never raced it. But it should be alright. It's an easy track, and yeah, we'll work with the guys as usual and try to deliver.
And who do you want to thank from that course and racing organization?
Yeah, of course, the team for the support, and special shout out to Marcus, to Josh, to Moritz, who wasn't here this week, to Carl, and of course to my teammate Ricardo Castroleda, who spotted for me in the race. Been a good run, and we finally, even with some luck, we got some good result as a unit, and I'm really happy for that, and I'm looking forward to the next race. And of course you guys for the broadcast.
Well, Noaz, thank you very much. Pascal is coming home in 5th place here today. So what we've really had today, Jake, is a race with some big names. A lot of the big names been taken out either through issues outside their control, issues on the racetrack outside their control, or completely binning it for reasons completely inside their control. But at the same time, we've had some of the new guard come through. Matt Backham. I mean, I don't think there had been many people who would have said 2 years ago they would have Matt Backham leading the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series after 5 rounds. We've got Kevin Ellis Jr., standout performance of him for Apex Racing UK. Standout performance of Josh Rogers. Standout performance of Tommy Ursgaard. Standout performance of Pash Gergis and Marcus Jensen and Frank Shawhorse. You know what? He had a really good comeback today.
He did. And I think that a lot of drivers had the opportunity to step up and prove themselves, and they did. And they did a fantastic job. Stepping up, proving themselves, getting up to the plate and saying, we're not just here to make up the numbers. We're here to go race and go get some fantastic results. And when those top drivers, those drivers who have the most amount of pace in that field, when they run into issues and they crash or they have a technical issue, it's up to them to step up to the plate and make their destiny and make their race. They all did today. They did a fantastic job, and it's a massive breath of fresh air into sim racing to see different teams looking to battle it out at the top of the mountain.
And next time out, Johnny, we don't quite have a mountain, but we have a nice little hilly section from the run on the exit of turn number 1 up through turn number 5. We go to upstate New York, Watkins Glen International for June. And, well, you know, we go to a track that had a bit of time off from the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and it's had its controversy and dramas of its own over the years.
It's a very interesting circuit. Setup makes a huge difference around there. There isn't many slow sections on the circuit, if you think about it. They're all just medium-speed corners. There's no hairpins. Everything's just a left-hander and a right-hander at medium speed, you know, and you got a high-speed corners. So that's what makes that track so interesting. It's much like Silverstone in a way, even more extreme if you think about it. Lots of camber to help ease the car into the corners. I just, you know, welcome it back onto the calendar. We missed it in 2017, but I think it should be a staple for eternity for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
And I'll tell you one thing as well, there's not a corner at Watkins Glen International which is completely flat, and there's always some form of camber to help increase the racing speeds and make things interesting on track. That is all we have time for, almost. Connery, social media here today, it blew up for a while, but what the guy's been saying about Matt Backham winning his second race, and also the fantastic sway of drivers, P on the top 10 here today.
Not much about Matt Backham actually winning a race. A lot of the discussion just has been about that Martin Kroenke incident, and we've also got a couple of the teams tweeting out as well. We've got Positive Sim Racing, P13 for Steve and P15 for Ricardo Orozco. Very tough race, but we managed to stay out of trouble and get result we wanted in the end, and sometimes that's just what racing's all about.
Yeah, so that is all we've got time for here today from round number 5 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Don't forget, next week we have got ourselves the VRS GT World Championship from the Nürburgring. 6 hours worth of racing. And for more information about the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, visit wcs.iracing.com. That's wcs.iracing.com. Want to say thank you to Isvan Balao, TrackCam22.com, Andres One and And1 Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpot TV. Overlay development by Simon Grossman and Engineering.com, and also Nick Thisson for RaceSpot.tv, live timing and scoring. You can check out, of course, the Sim Racing Observer for a write-up of this race, and also check out the Simone Racing Report for news interviews and podcasts with your favorite drivers. Well, the month of May strikes again. It's been a fantastic race here today, but we have Mac Backham holding on to Coanda's streak. Goodbye from Monza, and thank you for watching the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. From Jake Sperry, Jonathan Simone, and Connery Maddock, I'm Will Vincent, and we will talk to you all next time. Good afternoon and good night.